Pokémon, I became a Pikachu. Greetings, fellow multiversal adventurers. It's an honor to have you back in this saga that has us all hooked. Official channel statement, this story is 100% epic fiction, so please don't attempt real magic, the results aren't guaranteed and insurance won't cover it. The rights to this masterpiece belong entirely to its brilliant original author, we are just a barge sharing it with you. Do you want to keep being part of this amazing community? Join our ninja army of subscribers on YouTube and give this content a like. And for true fans, our Patreon has exclusive ninjutsu waiting for you. Chapter 176 The Mysterious Egg? Zyloksha, hurry up. We only have one day. A day had passed since Ash won the racing competition. After a day of celebration, Ash and Zyloksha were finally granted permission to hunt in the wild area for a day. As for that troublemaker, Dulith, that was a matter for the Dada tribe, and Ash and his friends naturally wouldn't interfere. Anyway, his evil deeds had been exposed, and the Dada tribe wouldn't let this despicable scoundrel off the hook. Originally, Fuko had planned to explore the wild area with Ash, whom she had developed a slight liking for. However, after the Pikachu incident, Fuko abandoned that idea. As the saying goes, like master, like pet. If Ash had turned a Pokemon like Pikachu into this state, then Ash's true nature was predictable. His current innocent and enthusiastic demeanor was probably just a way to lull her into a false sense of security. Just thinking about Pikachu's obsessive expression over that trophy sent chills down Fuko's spine. Therefore, completely shocked, Fuko abandoned the idea of traveling with Ash. This guy is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Of course, Ash, as the person involved, knew nothing about any of this. At this moment, all he wanted was to find a Pokemon in this wild area as soon as possible and have a good hunt. You have a whole day, what's the rush? Misty wasn't as excited as Ash at this moment. Even after a day, Misty's anger hadn't subsided in the slightest. Frantically pinching the Pikachu in her arms, Misty really wanted to tear off its cute yellow skin. This despicable bastard. This lecherous bastard. How could it? At first, Misty didn't know where Pikachu's trophy came from. But later, through her conversation with Ash, Misty learned that this trophy was actually a gift from Team Rocket. Misty had witnessed a trophy from Yamato at the hot springs last time. That was indeed an accident. This time, though she didn't see it with her own eyes, based on her understanding of Pikachu's nature, Zyloksha could guess without even thinking that it was definitely intentional. The thought of Pikachu doing something so despicable made Zyloksha want to turn around and leave immediately, never to see it again. But every time she took a step, memories of her time with Pikachu would flood her mind. Clearly, Pikachu had completely filled Zyloksha's heart, which was just beginning to blossom. You see, so many of Zyloksha's firsts had been taken by this wretched bastard. Although Zyloksha knew she was human and Pikachu was a Pokemon, and that a relationship between them was impossible, the bond between them was too deep, and Zyloksha simply couldn't bring herself to leave. Leaving was impossible, so the furious Zyloksha naturally wanted to vent her anger. And the target of her venting was, of course, Pikachu. Pika, damn it. You've been pinching me all day. My skin's numb from all the pinching. Why won't you stop? Mu Chen knew he was in the wrong. But what could he do? He was acutely aware of his own weaknesses. He couldn't help himself whenever he saw a pretty girl. Was he a scumbag at heart? However, Mu Chen also knew that if he had to choose, he'd rather give up an entire forest for Zyloksha. This was because of their bond. Mu Chen's heart was filled with Zyloksha's image. Unlike Melodic or Gardevoir, Mu Chen's feelings for Zyloksha were very different. She was the first girl he genuinely wanted to protect. And because of this, facing the enraged Zyloksha, all Mu Chen could do was grumble inwardly. And, incidentally, reminisce about the still-warm trophy. There was no way to keep it now. Zyloksha was angry, and even if Mu Chen was reluctant, he couldn't keep it. Finally, to appease Zyloksha, Mu Chen reluctantly presented his prize to Growlithe, causing the dog to unleash a fire breath that completely incinerated it. Looking at his burned prize, Mu Chen felt utterly heartbroken. However, seeing the anger on Zyloksha's pretty face subside somewhat, Mu Chen felt a little better. At least, she was quite sensible. Occasional teasing was fine, but he absolutely couldn't let a small thing ruin everything. Even though his status prevented him from truly developing a relationship with Zyloksha to the melodic level, Mu Chen had no intention of giving her away. This was a man's possessiveness. Zyloksha. She belonged to me, damn it. Ding ding, random mission activated. Mysterious egg. Mission requirements: in the wild wilderness, there exist Dratini and Dragonair, pseudo-legendary Pokemon from the Kanto region. As someone aiming to become Pikachu, how can you not challenge them? Mission reward: an unknown egg. Randomly increases 10 base stats. Failure penalty: you can't even beat a pseudo-legendary Pokemon that hasn't evolved yet? You're trash, I'll drown you. Note: this mission is a randomized mode, so what the egg you get as a reward will hatch depends entirely on your luck. What the hell? Just as Mu Chen was still complaining about why Ziox's anger hadn't subsided, the system's cold voice came from his mind again. This time, Mu Chen was truly dumbfounded. Although this was also a random mission, what was this mission about? Pseudo-legendary Pokemon? Dratini? Dragonair? Isn't this the pre-evolution form of Dragonite? System, are you messing with me? Dragonite is something I can handle. The thought of the Dragonite he encountered at Zheng Wei's lighthouse made Mu Chen's heart pound. Moreover, the reward for this suddenly appearing system quest was unlike anything he'd seen before. This time, it was an egg? And a random one at that? He had no idea what would hatch. The egg definitely belonged to Ash, and the Pokemon that hatched would naturally be his too. If it hatched into a Gardevoir level Pokemon, that would be fine. But what if it hatched into a Muck? The thought sent a shiver down Mu Chen's spine. Ah! Pikachu, what's wrong with you? Suddenly feeling Pikachu in her arms faint, Misty panicked. I didn't use much force. How did I manage to knock it out? Chapter 177 I'm not a slowpoke. Zioxia, look! There's a lake here. There should be water-type Pokemon here, right? After walking and stopping, Ash and Zioxia arrived at a lake inside the Safari Zone. At this moment, Ash was even more eager to catch Pokemon than before. Because he won the speed racing competition, Ash directly obtained 100 Park Balls from the Totodile tribe, specifically for catching Pokemon in the Safari Zone. But the problem was, half a day had passed, and Ash hadn't caught a single one. Most Pokemon in the Safari Zone existed in groups. Facing those groups, even with Ash's incredibly stubborn spirit, he couldn't catch them. Now, after half a day, Ash had finally discovered this lake. The kid was excited. Where there's a lake, there must be water-type Pokemon. Surely, even if it's a group, water-type Pokemon would be relatively easier to catch, right? At least, the one Ash caught with his fishing rod couldn't possibly be a group, could it? Ash, let's go fishing here. I'd like to try and catch some water-type Pokemon too. This time, Misty had no objections to Ash's suggestion. As someone aiming to become a water-type Pokemon master, she naturally hoped to catch as many water-type Pokemon as possible. Ha ha ha. Let's go fishing. Misty, let's have a competition and see who catches the most. When Ash set off from the Dadada tribe, he not only obtained a large number of parked balls, but the Dadada tribe also provided him with all the necessary fishing equipment. Let's compete. Are you afraid of me, being young? Misty was naturally unwilling to admit defeat easily. Pikachu, Mu Chen had absolutely no interest in the argument between Ash and Misty. At this moment, all he was focused on was this lake. Damn, Dratini, Dragonair, if I remember correctly, they seem to live in lakes in the wild area, right? Although Mu Chen hadn't watched the anime in his previous life, he had dabbled in the Pokemon games. Although his impression wasn't deep, Mu Chen still had some recollection of this location where pseudo-legendary Pokemon could be caught. He hadn't thought of it before, but seeing this lake now, a flood of memories surged back to Mu Chen. Huh? Pikachu, are you going to compete with us too? Ash and Misty had already set up their fishing rods and were in fishing mode. But unexpectedly, just as they were preparing to quietly wait for the fish to bite, Pikachu actually wobbled over. If it were just that, it wouldn't matter. But this guy actually turned his back to the lake, stuck out his butt, and directly flicked his lightning-shaped little tail into the lake. Obviously, Pikachu's posture was also an intention to fish. Pika, only an idiot would compete with you. I'm going to fish for a dragon. Hearing Ash's question, Mu Chen humanely rolled his eyes at him. Who the hell is interested in competing with you? I'm going to complete the mission. Although the reward for this mission was not as good as Ash's, 10 base stat points were still a considerable temptation for Mu Chen. Through continuous task completion, Mu Chen's base stat total has reached 365. If he adds this one, he'll be close to 400. The benefits of increasing base stats are obvious. Therefore, Mu Chen will definitely not give up on this task easily. However, due to his poor swimming skills, Mu Chen can only flick his tail into the lake and complete the task by chance. What can he do? Who knows how deep this damn lake is? I have no interest in going into the lake. Ash. Don't talk, there's movement on the surface. Compared to the impulsive Ash, Misty is much calmer. Just as Ash was about to say something to Pikachu, Misty noticed ripples on the lake. Clearly, this is a sign that prey has taken the bait. Splash. Finally, after a while, Misty received her first catch. However, I don't want Magikarp. It's so ugly. Misty was very unhappy with her first catch of Magikarp. If it were just that, Zyanox's unhappiness would only be temporary. But as time went on, Zyanox broke down. Oh my god. Ash, let's go. It seems like there are no other water-type Pokemon in this lake besides Magikarp. After more than 10 casts, all the fish caught were Magikarp. Even Ash was in the same situation, and Zyanox completely lost it. Do I really need to go all the way to the wild area to catch a Magikarp? You can find them in any pond, right? Let's go. Our competition isn't over yet. Although the harvest wasn't ideal, Ash still honestly and unceremoniously caught all the Magikarp. At least this provided Professor Oak with research material, right? Hearing Zyanox say they were leaving, Ash objected. The competition wasn't over yet, how could they give up halfway? But the problem is, there are only Magikarp here. Just as Zyanox was about to argue with Ash, the usually quiet Pikachu suddenly erupted. Pika Pika, holy crap. Ouch, that hurts like hell. While Ash and Misty had been catching Magikarp, Mu Chen's tail hadn't yielded any results. Mu Chen didn't care, they were on different levels anyway. I'm going to fish for a dragon, he thought. But the problem was, what the hell is this? It's biting me to death. The sudden, sharp pain in his tail made Mu Chen frantically pull it out of the lake. Is that a shelter? Ash was stunned to see the shellfish Pokemon on Pikachu's tail. Both were fishing, so why was there such a huge difference? Ash, what are you standing there for? Come help Pikachu. Mu Chen's face was now bruised and purple from being pinched by the shelter, and Misty immediately tense up. Although this bastard always made her angry, and although he never changed his bad habits, his importance in Misty's heart was still unparalleled. Pika Pika, damn it. I'm furious. Melodic, you old hag, come out here and avenge your man. After a long struggle, Mu Chen was finally rescued from Shelter's mouth by Ash and Misty. Looking at his swollen tail, Mu Chen flew into a rage. Damn it, my tail. Do you think I'm a slowpoke? What else was there to say? Before Ash could even react, Mu Chen threw the Pokeball containing Melodic from his waist. I can't go in the water, but my wife can, Shelter. Prepare to face the consequences. Chapter 178 Battle against Hakron. Splash, the little man had been wronged, and Melodic naturally had to stand up for him. To Ash and Misty's astonishment, Melodic, summoned by Pikachu, didn't even wait for Ash's command, following Pikachu's guidance and plunging into the lake. Ash, are you sure this is your Pokemon? She only had Psyduck, which was occasionally disobedient, but that was only because that guy was too stupid. But Melodic, it didn't seem stupid at all. Seeing Melodic plunge into the lake without waiting for its trainer's command, Misty was truly dumbfounded. Even if Pikachu was smart, it couldn't possibly command other Pokemon directly, could it? The time with Growlithe could be explained as Tom's command, but this scene, even if Misty couldn't believe it, what was happening before her eyes clearly told her that Pikachu could indeed command other Pokemon. Haha, I guess they're on good terms, right? Ash was utterly baffled by the scene before him. Therefore, the only explanation he could come up with was that Pikachu and Melodic were close. However, these two clearly didn't know that the close relationship between Pikachu and Melodic was far more complex than they imagined. Pika, suddenly bitten on the tail, the furious Mu Chen had no time to care what Misty and Ash were thinking. At this moment, its only wish was for Melodic to drive all those nasty shelters out of the lake. Damn it, what kind of stupid look is that? Is my tail the same as those stupid slowpokes? I'm fishing for dragons, why the hell are you biting me? Splash splash, just as Ash and Misty were talking, and just as Pikachu was about to unleash a thunderbolt on the shelter that Melodic had flung out of the water, a slender, pale blue figure suddenly leaped out of the water. Ugh, an angry cry came from the Pokemon that had suddenly jumped out of the water. Having been sleeping soundly, it was furious that an intruder had suddenly appeared, as the owner of the lake. Ah! This is Dragonair, my god. There's a Dragonair in this safari zone. Upon seeing the Pokémon that had suddenly leaped out of the water, Ash and Misty forgot their conversation. This was actually the pseudo-legendary Pokémon of the Kanto region, the unevolved form of Dragonite, Dragonair. Splash splash, just as the two were still in shock, ripples appeared on the lake once more. Immediately, a slightly smaller Pokémon, resembling Dragonair in appearance, appeared before Ash and Misty. A Dratini? How is this possible? This time, it was the baby form of Dragonite, Dratini. Seeing these two juvenile pseudo-legendary Pokémon appear one after the other, Ash and Misty were completely stunned. No matter how they tried to imagine it, they never expected that such a rare Pokémon, capable of driving the world crazy, would exist in the wild. Pikachu, Ash and Misty were stunned, but Mu Chen wasn't. Although it wasn't Shelter that appeared, Mu Chen was even happier with this result. These two were out, so the mission could be completed. Damn it, why did I use myself as bait? I should have just closed the gate and released Melodic. Zzzzz, a bolt of electricity flashed. Without the slightest hesitation, Mu Chen unleashed a thunderbolt attack on Dratini. Why not attack Dragonair? Just kidding, you have to pick on the weakest one first, Mu Chen thought, naturally choosing to take down the smaller one first. Although it was a pseudo-legendary Pokémon, Dratini was still a cub. A single 100,000 volts hit its body, and Dratini let out a painful scream. Seeing Dratini attacked, Dragonair was enraged. It swung its long neck, opened its massive jaws, and spewed out a mouthful of Dragon-type energy filled with fury. This was Dragon Rage, a move favored by Dragon-type Pokémon. Pikachu, holy crap, so fierce? Seeing the Dragon Rage coming straight at him, Mu Chen quickly activated high-speed shift, dodging Dragonair's furious attack with incredible speed. Looking at the deep crater blasted into the ground behind him, Mu Chen was shocked. This was still a Dragonair before it evolved into Dragonite. How powerful would it be if it evolved? After just this one exchange, Mu Chen immediately dropped all his underestimation. This was no joke, a mission with two rewards simultaneously. This was incredibly difficult. Whoosh, Dragon Rage missed Pikachu, and Dragonair raised its neck again. With another attack, a powerful whirlwind erupted from its mouth, sweeping towards Mu Chen. This was the Dragon-type move, Tornado. Whoosh! Whoosh! The wind howled. As the tornado spewed from Dragonair's mouth, its rotation grew increasingly violent and its range expanded. Clearly, Dragonair wasn't going to give Pikachu any room to dodge this time. Ash! Retreat! Seeing Dragonair already engaged Pikachu, Misty quickly pulled Ash back. She was well aware that Dragonair was incredibly powerful. If the two of them stayed, they would only cause trouble for Pikachu. Pikachu! Use quick attack to dodge the tornado, then counter-attack with Thunderbolt. Even as Misty pulled him back, Ash didn't forget to give Pikachu the battle command. Although surprised by the sudden appearance of this young pseudo-legendary Pokémon, Ash wasn't the type to shy away from a powerful opponent. Dragonair. Dratini. If he could successfully capture them, the scene would be simply too beautiful. Pika Pika, just as Ash gave the command, Mu Chen had already reacted. This time, Ash's command was flawless. Clearly, through continuous battles, this stubborn kid had finally grown up. However, his commands were still of no help to Mu Chen. Seriously? I'm a veteran of countless battles, with boundless experience, do I need your reminders? As the saying goes, battle situations change in an instant, and opportunities are fleeting. How could Mu Chen be like a typical Pokémon, foolishly waiting for his trainer's commands? Using a flash of lightning to reposition himself, Mu Chen immediately entered charge-in mode. Hakron was clearly not someone to be trifled with, and Mu Chen dared not underestimate him in the slightest. Chapter 179 Take my electromagnetic wave. Pikachu, a loud cry came from Mu Chen's mouth. Having fully charged up, Mu Chen confidently unleashed a thunderbolt attack on Dragonair. HMPH. Dragonair? I'll teach you to imitate Arbok and give me a jump. Ugh. However, under Mu Chen's expectant gaze, Dragonair only let out a painful groan. Then, the attack Dragonair swung its body and shot towards Pikachu. Judging by its speed, this guy could obviously move at high speed. Pikachu, so tough? And what's this all about? Is it going to fight me hand to hand? Don't even think about it. Seeing Dragonair's stance, Mu Chen knew perfectly well that it was going to charge at him for a melee. No kidding, even if Dragonair's slender, it's still a full 4 meters long. And him? The size difference between the two was too stark, and Mu Chen had absolutely no intention of sparring with this Dragonair. Goodbye, I'm not playing along. With a twist of its rear end, Mu Chen frantically used its short legs and charged forward. HMPH. I'm a ranged attacker, I'd only fight you hand to hand if I'm crazy. Ugh, but unexpectedly, just as Mu Chen was about to make a strategic retreat, the Dratini, which had inexplicably taken a 100,000 volt hit earlier, also charged in. Clearly, it wasn't going to bother with a fair one-on-one fight. Pikachu, holy crap. I can't even handle one of me, and you're attacking me all at once? Dragonair only attacked twice, but the pressure it put on Mu Chen was immense. Mu Chen didn't even dare to directly confront Dragonair. Now, with the addition of Dratini, the pressure on Mu Chen increased even more. Damn it, Melodic, what the hell are you doing? These two dragons, one large and one small, were lured out by Melodic's entry into the water, but unexpectedly, after the dragons emerged, Melodic vanished. At this moment, Mu Chen desperately hoped that the old woman Melodic would leap out of the water and help him hold off one of his opponents. However, after diving into the water, Melodic remained completely still. Pikachu, damn it. This old woman is unreliable, I'll do it myself. Just as the system said, if he couldn't even beat two unevolved creatures, then Mu Chen would have no face to show his face. Zzzzz, a flash of electricity once again erupted from its cheeks. In an instant, a weak but swift current shot towards the Dratini. This was an electromagnetic wave that could paralyze. After discovering that these two had incredibly strong resistance to electric-type moves, Mu Chen decisively abandoned his plan to fight head-on. HMPH. You think you're so tough? I'll just fly a kite. Once I paralyze you, I'll kite you to death. Up, faced with this lightning-fast attack, Dratini was caught completely off guard. Seeing its child forced to perform the dragon dance, Dragonair, landing behind Mu Chen, was even more enraged. Pikachu, use Thunderbolt. Defeat Dratini first. Having retreated to safety, Ash once again raised his voice, shouting at Mu Chen. Clearly, after seeing Dratini hit by the Thunderbolt, he was already considering capturing it. Pikachu, Thunderbolt my ass. Ignoring Ash's idiotic command, Mu Chen decisively switched to Parker mode. Did you see Dragonair pounce? With my small frame, what good would it do me if it hit me? Although Mu Chen knew this was a good opportunity to defeat Dratini, if the price was too high, well, sorry, I'm not playing along. Using a lightning-fast movement, Mu Chen once again dodged Dragonair's pounce. Then, sizzle, electricity leaped from his cheeks again. Clearly, seeing the effectiveness of his electromagnetic wave skill, he planned to press his advantage and land a hit on Dragonair as well. But just then, a rapid sound of hooves suddenly came from behind Ash and the others. Heave-ho! Heave-ho! As the hoofbeats grew closer, the owner of the sound gradually appeared before Ash and the others. It was Fuuko's Rapidash. Ash! Misty! Quickly tell Pikachu to stop fighting. As a ranger in the wild area, patrolling the wild area was Fuuko's job. After saying goodbye to Ash and his group, Fuuko returned to her usual work routine. But unexpectedly, when she patrolled near the lake, she heard the sounds of fighting. This was unacceptable. The rules of the wild area strictly forbade any trainer from attacking these wild Pokémon. Even if you wanted to capture it, you could only do so using a park ball provided by the Dada clan, without engaging in battle. This was precisely why Ash hadn't succeeded before. Riding Rapidash at breakneck speed, Fuuko quickly arrived at the lake where the battle had taken place. When she saw that the two fighting were Ash's Pikachu and Dragonair, the biggest secret in the Safari Zone, they were battling, Fuuko truly panicked. What incredible luck had Ash had! The Dada clan had never revealed the existence of Dragonair and Dratini. And the lake where they lived was located deep within the Safari Zone. Yet, even so, Ash had managed to find it, and even lured the Dragonair clan out of the lake? Although filled with confusion, Fuuko knew this wasn't the time to ask questions. Miss Fuuko. Pikachu. Stop. Don't fight anymore. Fuuko's sudden arrival startled Ash. Upon hearing Fuuko's request, he didn't hesitate and immediately called out to Pikachu, who was still battling. This wild area had regulations prohibiting Pokémon battles. Given the current situation, they were setting a precedent, so how could Ash possibly let Pikachu continue fighting? Pikachu, what? Not fighting? Are you kidding me? What about my mission if I don't fight? Although this mission didn't explicitly require defeating Dragonair, Mu Chen dared not give up so easily. What if he failed the mission because you stopped? Zzzzz. A flash of electricity appeared as Mu Chen delivered a powerful 100,000-volt attack to the Dragonair, which was already hit by the electromagnetic wave. Not fighting is fine, but I'll talk about it after I complete my mission. Chapter 180 The Cunning Little Zhi? Splash! Just as Mu Chen was about to ignore Xiao Zhi and Fu Zi's advice and continue using Thunderbolt on Dragonair, the calm lake rippled again. Then, a slightly mournful cry rang out. This was none other than Melodic, the old woman Mu Chen had been complaining about earlier. Melodic was now in a sorry state, its 6-meter-long body firmly held by dozens of shoulders, and no matter how much it struggled, it couldn't shake off these stubborn shoulders. It turned out that after Melodic dived to the bottom of the lake, it didn't disturb the shoulders that Mu Chen had asked it to target. The two Dragon-type Pokémon playing in the lake became the first victims. Dragonair and Dratini were taken aback when they saw Melodic suddenly attack. Having lived in this lake for countless years, when had they ever seen a creature larger than themselves? Judging strength by size wasn't just a privilege of Mu Chen and Xiao Zhi. Suddenly seeing such a large creature approaching, Dragonair and Dratini instinctively leaped out of the lake. Unlike Melodic, being Dragon-type Pokémon, they could fly at low altitudes. However, they were ambushed by Pikachu as soon as they surfaced, and in their rage, Dragonair and Dratini engaged in battle. As for Melodic in the water, due to Mu Chen's request, Melodic ignored the two small snakes and continued its journey deeper into the lake. Finally, upon reaching the bottom, Melodic discovered a Pokémon egg embedded in the mud. Whoa, just as Melodic was about to examine this strange Pokémon egg, the shelter she had been searching for appeared. However, there weren't just one or two shelters, it was an entire colony. Although Melodic was a water-type Pokémon and quite powerful in the water, its strength depended on its opponent. Against one or two shelters, a flick of its tail would easily send them flying. But, faced with an entire swarm of shelters, Melodic's only option was to flee for its life. Because of the urgency, Melodic couldn't spare the time to examine the Pokémon egg. In its escape, it could only use its tail to grab the egg embedded in the mud, carrying it along as it frantically raced towards the surface. As for why it carried the egg? As a female Pokémon, and one that had already experienced some of life's necessary stages, Melodic's maternal instincts were overflowing. After a frantic run, Melodic finally broke through the shelter's blockade and was able to see the light of day again. However, upon returning to the surface, Melodic carried quite a few souvenirs with it. Mildano? Oh my god. So many shelters. Ash, what are you waiting for? Quickly use a parked ball to catch those shelters and help Melodic escape. Attacking these creatures in the Safari Zone is already forbidden, and now, especially in front of Tamiko, Misty certainly wouldn't summon a Pokémon to battle them. Therefore, the only solution now is to use a parked ball to take down these shelters. Of course, Misty herself won't use a parked ball. For Misty, she'd rather have nothing than catch these incredibly ugly water-type Pokémon. Haha. That's right. Catch them. Miss Tamiko, are those Dragonair and Dratini you keep? Or can they be caught? Reminded by Misty, Ash suddenly realized. That's right. These Pokémon can all be caught with a parked ball. For Ash, who aspires to become a Pokémon master, he won't miss any opportunity to catch Pokémon. What's more, there are still rare pseudo-legendary baby Pokémon like Dragonair and Dratini around. You should just catch Shelter. Dragonair and Dratini are rare treasures in the wild, they're not allowed to be caught. Seeing that Ash actually wanted to catch Dragonair and Dratini, Fuko was even more certain of her previous judgment. This kid is a wolf in sheep's clothing. If I hadn't happened to be patrolling here, Dragonair and Dratini would probably be in trouble. Pokémon battles are strictly prohibited here. And judging from the current situation, Pikachu is fighting fiercely with Dragonair and Dratini. As Ash's Pokémon, isn't Pikachu's every action under his instructions? If it weren't for Ash helping her win the championship, helping Ponyta evolve, and exposing that traitor Dorif, Fuko probably would have attacked him directly by now. Alright, That's settled then. Melodic, hold on, I'm coming. Hearing Tom's words, Ash didn't argue. While Dragonair was precious, it wasn't essential to Ash. As a pure and good boy, Ash wasn't like those ruthless guys in Team Rocket. Pikachu, you guys got lucky. This time, Mu Chen finally stopped the continuously surging 100,000 volts of electricity. Of course, this wasn't because of Ash's relationship with Tom. After Melodic broke the surface, he received a system notification that the mission was complete. Since the mission was finished, how could Mu Chen possibly continue fighting these two silly dragons? Although they couldn't hide him, their hides and flesh were incredibly thick, Mu Chen had no interest in wasting unnecessary energy. Miss Fuko, I'm truly sorry this time. Attacking Dragonair and the others wasn't my intention. It was just that they appeared so suddenly that Pikachu was startled and attacked them. Ash threw a bunch of parked balls, successfully taking down Shelter, and approached Fuko apologetically. It's alright, just don't do it again. This egg, since you found it, you can have it. There's a group of Pokémon in the northwest, you can go check it out. Fuko completely distrusted Ash's explanation. Seeing the Pokémon egg he was clutching tightly in his hands, Fuko had no intention of asking for it. Such a cunning wolf, it was obvious that even if you asked, he wouldn't give it to you. Anyway, there were many Pokémon living in this lake, an egg was nothing to Fuko. Of course, this was also because she knew that this egg didn't belong to Dragonair and its mother. At this moment, Fuko's only thought was to get rid of this wolf who had once given her a bit of goodwill. Then she would comfort the traumatized Hakuryu and his mother. What Ash would hunt next was no longer a concern for Tomiko. The day was almost up anyway, and the place she had directed him to was enough to keep him busy. That wolf was such a good actor, Tomiko didn't want to spend another moment with him. The misunderstanding had already been created, and it was very difficult to resolve. However, Ash, the person directly involved, was completely unaware of this. Haha, thank you so much, Miss Tomiko. Chapter 181 Delinquent Youth. Ash, what kind of Pokemon is inside this egg? Even after leaving the Safari Zone, Misty was still wondering what kind of Pokemon the egg in Ash's backpack was. Hey, how would I know? Maybe it's one of those lake Pokemon? Maybe even a Dragonair. Then I'll be a Pokemon master with a Dragonite. Ha ha ha, a natural optimist, Ash didn't care about such things, he'd find out once it hatched. Seriously, why didn't you just send the egg to Professor Oak via the computer? He'd probably know what kind of Pokemon it is, right? Curiosity is a woman's nature, and Misty's curiosity was clearly exceptionally strong. Professor Oak? He's probably very busy right now. Let's not trouble him. At the mention of Professor Oak, Ash showed a rare moment of embarrassment. When a bunch of Magikarp and Shelter were sent over, Professor Oak's expression was relatively calm, at most complaining a few times about the limited variety. But after that huge wave of Tauros attacked, Ash couldn't bear to recall Professor Oak's disheveled appearance in the video. As for why this happened, the reason could only be because of Tom. Guided by Tom, Ash and Misty traveled quickly and finally found the Pokemon group she had mentioned, Tauros. With the day almost over, Ash had no choice but to unleash a barrage of parked balls on the Tauros. This time, his luck was excellent. Apparently, these Tauros also wanted a change of scenery and a better diet. Almost all of the Tauros were caught without any resistance from Ash's mindless parked ball attacks. Of course, Ash didn't keep any, he packed up all the parked balls and gave them to Professor Oak. This time, Professor Oak wouldn't complain that he didn't send him Pokemon for research, right? Pikachu, unlike Ziox's curiosity, Mu Chen lazily nestled in her arms, his mind preoccupied with something else. Come to think of it, this chain quest had been going on for a while now, hadn't it? Although Kirlia's evolution didn't have a time limit, Mu Chen dared not delay any longer. Before, things were alright, Mu Chen hadn't felt any threat. But after getting this egg, Mu Chen felt the system's overwhelming malice towards him. Knowing the system's usual behavior, if this egg hatched before Kirlia evolved, wouldn't something terrible happen? Mu Chen had a certain assessment of the system. If the egg hatched after Kirlia evolved, it would have a very high chance of taking over the chain quest. Conversely, if the egg hatched before this link in the chain quest was completed, one Pidgeotto was enough. Mu Chen didn't want any more random stuff added to his team. What he wanted was a cheering squad of young ladies, just like Xiaomao. Because of this in mind, Mu Chen had already accelerated Kirlia's evolution schedule. And the way to evolve her? Naturally, through battle. Looks like I need to enter a period of laziness. With this plan in mind, Mu Chen found a perfectly legitimate reason to slack off. Xiaoxia, look! What a huge bridge! Just then, Xiaozhi's exclamation suddenly rang out. Ah! This bridge is already finished? The map shows it's still under construction. The bridge Xiaozhi was pointing to was the one that allowed them to cross the sea directly, greatly shortening the journey to Sunny Town. Seeing the already open bridge, Xiaozhi and Xiaoxia were immediately excited. Being able to cross directly from the bridge would save a lot of distance. However, reality is often cruel. What? We need bicycles to cross the bridge. Arriving at the bridge entrance, they were told by the staff that they needed bicycles to cross, and Xiaozhi and Xiaoxia were immediately confused. Bicycles aren't cheap. Although Ash earned some money by challenging gyms, it was barely enough to sustain their trip. Buying a bicycle? Huh. Hey kids, want to cross the bridge? Don't you have a bicycle? How about a Pokémon battle? If you win, we can lend you 2 bicycles. Just as Ash was feeling confused, an arrogant voice suddenly came from behind him. Turning around, he saw a dozen or so unruly delinquents. Pokémon battle? Great. No problem, battles were Ash's favorite thing, especially with the added bonus of bicycles for crossing the bridge. This was like a windfall for him. Kids, if you lose, the Pokémon you battle with belongs to us. Dare to ticket, there's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. These delinquents' goal was simply to swindle Pokémon from the traveling trainers. What's there to be afraid of? Come on, of course, this kind of thing wouldn't scare Ash at all. For Ash, there was no way he could refuse a battle. Defeat? It was never in Ash's dictionary. Ha ha ha. Good. I admire your courage. Then come with us. Seeing Ash take the bait, the delinquents laughed loudly. Obviously, they saw Ash and Misty as easy targets. Pikachu, previously, Mu Chen had been thinking of finding an opportunity to increase Kirlia's battle experience, and now someone had offered it to him. Mu Chen was naturally very happy about this. However, what excited him the most at this moment were the girls among the delinquents. These girls with their non-mainstream outfits, their small figures, their clothes. I found a new reason to quit the battle. Looking at the girls in front of him swaying as they rode their bicycles, Mu Chen was excited. This is life. Pikachu. If you look around again, I'll throw you into the sea. However, Mu Chen, in his resistance, ignored Xiaoxia. Feeling the body temperature of this naughty thing in her arms rapidly rising, Xiaoxia immediately followed Pikachu's gaze. Knowing this guy well, Xiaoxia knew perfectly well that Pikachu was up to its old tricks again. Pika, what the hell? What's going on? Not even allowed to look? Xiaoxia's sudden scolding startled Mu Chen. What was she doing? Even managing a husband like this? But Mu Chen had no idea that, because his importance in Xiaoxia's heart was constantly increasing, she now possessed an extremely strong possessiveness towards him. Want to take advantage? Don't even think about it with anyone else but me. Chapter 182 Despicable Tactics. I choose you, Pidgeotto. At this moment, Ash and Misty, led by the delinquents, had arrived at a battle location. After learning the rule that each of these delinquents would send a Pokémon to battle him until all of his Pokémon were defeated, Ash decisively chose Pidgeotto to go first. This was always Ash's vanguard for testing the strength of his opponents. Beep beep, as Ash's stubborn little devil, Pidgeotto's fighting spirit was always incredibly strong. Pidgeotto, huh? Ha ha ha. Then I'll go first. Go, Graveler. The delinquent's goal was to trick these trainers into giving them Pokémon through legal means. They naturally had no sense of morality. Seeing that Ash had chosen a flying normal-type Pidgeotto, one of the delinquents, who possessed a Graveler, stepped forward. Clearly, they intended to rely on type advantage to defeat Ash. Graptopedalum? Pidgeotto, we're not afraid of it. Use Sand Kick. Having experience battling these rock-type Pokémon, even the most stubborn Ash knew that quick attack was completely useless. At this moment, he changed his tactics. Beep beep, random mission activated. Young man, you also feel that Kirlia needs more battle experience, right? Your thinking is fine, but as a man, you still need to stand up and protect your girl at crucial moments. Mission requirements: protect Kirlia, Melodic, and Misty. Mission reward: unknown. Failure penalty: loss of Kirlia, Melodic, or Misty. Mu Chen had absolutely no interest in Ash's battle with these delinquents. The young lady couldn't watch openly, so Mu Chen could only steal glances out of the corner of his eye. Unexpectedly, just as he was enjoying his sneaky glances, a system mission notification suddenly popped into his head. Hearing the mission given by the system, Mu Chen was confused. These delinquents, are they really that strong? You need me to protect Curlia, Melodic, and even Misty? What the hell? And this time, the reward is unknown again? Holy crap. The unknown is a good thing. But as always, rewards and risks go hand in hand. The greater the reward, the higher the risk. Since the mission offers an unknown reward, this mission must be quite difficult. Knowing the difficulty of the mission, Mu Chen dared not be careless. If something went wrong and his girl really had an accident, he would have nowhere to cry. Damn it. Pidgeotto, use U-turn. When Mu Chen focused his attention on the battle, Pidgeotto had already fallen into a disadvantageous position. Although Sand Kick can confuse the enemy's eyes, thus reducing their accuracy, Pidgeotto's opponent is a ground rock type Graveler. Other Pokemon might be affected by Sand Kick, but for Graveler, the effect is truly negligible. With its superior resistance and stamina, Graveler completely ignored Pidgeotto's interference, relentlessly hurling rocks at it. Under Graveler's constant barrage of rocks, Pidgeotto was like a small boat, on the verge of being capsized and knocked down. Seeing this, Ash panicked. Desperate, he changed tactics, ordering Pidgeotto to use U-turn, a flying-type move, hoping to harass Graveler. However, Ash's thinking was too simplistic. Ha ha ha. Graveler, use explosion. The delinquents were waiting for Ash to command the circling Pidgeotto to attack. If it would come down, a massive explosion would be delivered. After all, there were over a dozen delinquents. They didn't believe Ash had more Pokemon than they did. For these delinquents, defeating Ash and acquiring his Pokemon was all that mattered. It was just an explosion, right? A few days of recovery would be enough. Whoosh! Upon receiving the delinquent's command, Graveler hesitated for a moment before its body erupted in violent energy fluctuations. Clearly, Graveler had entered a self-destruct state. Damn it! Pidgeotto, take off! Seeing his opponent's posture, Ash was naturally alarmed. But it was too late. Boom! A deafening roar rang out, and Pidgeotto, swooping down, was caught completely by the shockwave. Damn it! Why did you do this? This isn't how trainers battle. Rushing forward, Ash picked up the badly injured Pidgeotto and berated the delinquent. In Ash's mind, Pokemon battles should be won through strength. This delinquent's Graveler already had a type advantage, yet he chose this suicidal tactic. Ash absolutely could not accept such behavior that would cause such immense damage to his own Pokemon. Naive brat. Isn't this a battle too? Now, you should send out your second Pokemon? How could the delinquents not understand Ash's rebuke? However, they didn't care. All they wanted was to get their hands on Ash's Pokemon. Even if it was one for another, wouldn't they still be the ones profiting in the end? Damn it. Pikachu, I choose you. Seeing his opponent's despicable behavior, Ash was enraged. These despicable guys, let my Pikachu punish you. Pika, screw you, you go yourself, I'm not going. Not to mention the high difficulty system mission that made Mu Chen wary. Even without this mission, Mu Chen's plan was to have Curlia battle to give it a chance to evolve. Now that only one headstrong Pidgeotto has been defeated, how could Mu Chen possibly participate in the battle? Ha ha ha. Kid, is this your Pokemon? It won't even obey your commands. Seeing Pikachu's human-like shake of its head in refusal, the delinquents burst into laughter. Pikachu, alright. Then it's you, Curlia. Ash was used to Pikachu's daily strikes, he genuinely didn't know what to do about it. Anyway, he still had two other Pokemon. Once they both failed, Pikachu would naturally join the battle. Ash was very confident about that. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183 Zyuox's Anger. Well done. Curlia, keep using Psychic and defeat it. Curlia's combat power is naturally much higher than that of the headless Pidgeotto. Since Ash summoned it, it has already achieved 3 consecutive victories. After defeating 3 delinquents in a row, Ash's confidence soared. These guys, apart from their underhanded tactics, are actually quite incompetent. Damn it, this brat is tough to deal with. That Kirlia is too agile, our explosion tactics are useless against it. 3 Pokemon capable of self-destruction all exploded into thin air, and the delinquents panicked. Who would have thought that this brat possessed a Pokemon from another region, and one that was even a psychic-type Pokemon skilled in using teleport? In fact, the Pokemon in the hands of these delinquents weren't particularly powerful, they relied on this self-destruction will tactic. But unfortunately, today they encountered Ash, and a Kirlia that could use teleport. Other Pokemon might have some trouble dealing with these self-destruction experts, but for Kirlia, it was child's play. No matter how powerful your self-destruction is, with a single teleport, you'll only see my graceful back. At this moment, not only was Ash's confidence soaring, but Kirlia also reverted to her former arrogant self. Pikachu, little brat, what the hell are you glaring at? If you glare like that, I'm ignoring you. Seeing Kirlia give him a provocative look after defeating 3 opponents in a row, Mu Chen was furious. This little brat lacks manners. Hey, are you guys still going to compete? If not, then I've won. Although he despised the despicable tactics of these delinquents, the competition had to continue. There was no other way, the bicycle was in their hands, and to successfully cross the bridge, he had to win it through this kind of competition. As for why Ash was so confident that they wouldn't back out? Just kidding, this is a society governed by law. Apart from Team Rocket and other truly evil groups, ordinary people don't dare to break the law so easily. With Officer Jenny around, Ash felt quite at ease. Similarly, it was precisely because of this that these delinquents only resorted to such tricks to steal Pokemon from passing trainers. They genuinely lacked the courage to actually steal them. Damn it. Kid, don't be so arrogant, I'll fight you this time. Mocking Ash, the previously confident delinquents were enraged. In their eyes, Ash was nothing more than a fat sheep. Ha ha ha. Come on then, my Kirlia will not fail. With each victory, Ash's previous anger had dissipated. Now, he was once again in a state of inexplicable confidence. HMPH. Don't be so smug. Go, Electrode, Meru. At the summons of a non-mainstream girl, a red and white Electrode appeared on the field. The previous Pokemon were too slow, their self-destruct abilities couldn't catch up with Kirlia. This time, after discussion, the non-mainstream girl with Electrode was chosen to fight. You know, Electrode, this electric-type Pokemon, is incredibly fast. Kirlia, use Psychic. The opponent had already released their Pokemon, and Ash decisively entered battle mode. Whatever it is, as long as he's careful not to get hurt by the self-destruction, he's safe. Pikachu, unlike Ash's inexplicable confidence, Mu Chen was filled with confusion. What's going on? These delinquents don't seem to be very strong. Besides their explosive attacks, I haven't seen any real danger. Is this even worth a mission with an unknown reward? Trusting the system, Mu Chen never underestimated the difficulty of missions with unknown rewards. But judging from the current situation, these delinquents seem to be worth at most a free 5-point base stat mission, right? Pikachu. Do you really think I'm joking? Just as Mu Chen was still wondering, a furious, gritting voice suddenly came from beside him. The owner of this voice was none other than Misty, consumed by jealousy. After threatening this bastard, Pikachu had become obedient. But how long had it been? This guy was already staring at that delinquent girl who was battling on the other side. Seeing that Pikachu was blatantly disregarding her words, Misty was furious. That wretched little brat. This young lady was going to teach it a lesson today. Pika, holy crap. What's going on? Are you crazy? At this moment, the battle was still taking place on this cross-sea bridge. Misty suddenly lifted herself high, as if to throw herself down from the bridge, and Mu Chen was immediately dumbfounded. What the hell is she doing? Why has she gone crazy? Obviously, Mu Chen didn't know that because of the deep impression he had left on Misty, he was unlucky enough to be misunderstood this time. Roar! Just as Misty was about to scare Pikachu and teach him a lesson, a deafening roar suddenly came from below the bridge. Before Xiaoxia could react, a powerful water cannon slammed into the bridge pier. The impact caused the bridge to shake violently. Losing her grip, Xiaoxia, still dazed, dropped Pikachu, which tumbled into the sea below. Pikachu, she had only meant to scare Pikachu, but the unexpected turn of events left her terrified. In a panic, she summoned Starmie to rescue Pikachu. But this guy's swimming skills were, well, let's just say they were terrible. Just as Pikachu was flailing about in freefall, just as Starmie had been summoned, a huge wave suddenly appeared on the surface of the sea. Then, a gigantic Gyarados leaped out of the water and lunged at Pikachu. Pikachu, Zyaksha. Damn it. You're trying to murder your husband. Mu Chen was already completely dumbfounded when Zyaksha suddenly threw him off the bridge. But unexpectedly, just as he was about to fall into the water, this terrifying creature appeared. At that moment, all Mu Chen could think of was cursing. Pikachu. No. Similarly, seeing Pikachu in danger, Zyaksha panicked. In her excitement, she forgot the danger and jumped directly towards Pikachu. She was actually planning to protect Pikachu with her body. Poison Chapter 184 Sublimation. Pikachu. A loud cry rang out, and the sound of electric currents flashed across Mu Chen's cheeks as he free fell. Already dazed from the freefall, Mu Chen was now completely panicked when he saw the enormous figure leaping from the water, and Zyaksha even following him in a freefall. Damn it, I knew this quest wouldn't be easy. In his panic, Mu Chen could only resort to using Thunderbolt to protect himself. He couldn't possibly die in the dragon's mouth, could he? Sizzle, electric currents crackled, and just as Mu Chen was about to make intimate contact with Gyarados' foul-smelling jaws, Thunderbolt finally charged up. Roar, Gyarados is a flying water type, and electric-type moves are extremely effective against it. Moreover, Mu Chen's Thunderbolt attack landed squarely on Gyarados' unprotected mouth. The intense pain overwhelmed Gyarados, preventing it from continuing its attack on Pikachu, and it tumbled back into the sea in a sorry state. Pikachu. Just then, Misty, who had been falling freely, finally caught up. She was clutching Pikachu tightly in her arms, her face streaked with tears, her pretty face filled with fear and guilt. Clearly, Misty was genuinely panicked by this unexpected turn of events. Pika, silly girl, why did you follow me down? I didn't blame you. Looking at Misty's tear-streaked face, Mu Chen's heart was filled with warmth. Mu Chen wasn't stupid, he knew perfectly well that Misty had only wanted to scare him, and the mistake was purely accidental. Clearly, that water gun attack was the work of this suddenly appearing Gyarados. What Mu Chen didn't expect was that Zyaksha would jump down without hesitation. This truly moved Mu Chen. Zyaksha, you silly girl. Splash, just as Mu Chen and Zyaksha embraced, their freefall journey came to an end. Pikachu. Zyaksha, the sudden shaking of the bridge naturally startled Ash, who was battling. When he saw Pikachu and Zyaksha fall off the bridge, Ash was immediately alarmed. Curlia, go save them. Melodic, come out too. Pikachu and Zyaksha were in danger, and Ash no longer cared about his battle. At this moment, rescuing his two friends was the most important thing to him. Riri, yes, with Ash's command, Curlia and Melodic didn't hesitate at all, rushing towards Pikachu who had fallen into the sea. Hey, kid, are you planning to give up and admit defeat? The delinquents didn't care if something went wrong with Ash. All they wanted was to trick Ash into handing over his Pokémon. Besides, Ash had the priceless Curlia and Melodic. Who's admitting defeat? Just wait, our match will continue later. With that, Ash ignored the group of delinquents behind him and sprinted towards the bridge. Splash, just then, Misty, who had fallen into the sea, pulled Pikachu to the surface. Pikachu wasn't a great swimmer, but Misty was an excellent one. After all, she came from a family that made a living with water-type Pokémon and water performances at the Cerulean Gym. Pikachu. I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to. I'm so sorry. Seawater and tears blurred Misty's pretty face. Looking at Pikachu in her arms, Misty's heart was filled with endless regret. Why was he so jealous? Why did he resort to such methods to scare this little rascal? Luckily, nothing bad happened, otherwise Zyaksha would have regretted it for the rest of her life. At this moment, Zyaksha realized that she was completely willing to disregard her own life for Pikachu. At this moment, Zyaksha realized that her heart had truly been filled by this little rascal. Pika, looking at Zyaksha's pretty face streaked with tears, Mu Chen was equally moved. This silly girl, she could actually give up her life for me. Mu Chen knew that at the moment he fell, Zyaksha didn't hesitate for a second, she didn't waver for a second, otherwise she wouldn't have been able to catch him as he fell into the water. Looking at Zyaksha's tear-streaked face, Mu Chen secretly vowed in his heart. This girl, he would protect her for life. What Musashi? What Yamato? Get the hell out of my sight. From now on, I'll never think about you again. Although Mu Chen was a pathetic loser who couldn't resist beautiful women, it was only because he had never truly loved. Previously, his feelings for Xiaoxia were merely opportunistic. As he took advantage of her more and more, and spent more time with her, his feelings shifted to possessiveness. But now, he realized he was truly in love. Xiaoxia truly deserved his lifelong protection. Xiaoxia. Even if I'm forever a Pikachu, even if I can never truly be with you, after completing the system's mission and completely getting rid of it, I will protect you for the rest of my life. At this moment, Mu Chen silently swore an oath to protect Xiaoxia for life. Roar, roar. Just as Xiaoxia was dragging Pikachu towards the shore, several deafening roars suddenly echoed from the sea. Xiaoxia. Run. It's a swarm of Gyarados, standing on the bridge. Xiaoxia was naturally the first to notice the anomaly. It turned out that the Gyarados that had attacked Mu Chen earlier wasn't a lone creature. It was an entire swarm. After the vanguard was electrocuted, the Gyarados horde, already known for its explosive temper, became enraged. They all surfaced, their massive jaws agape, and swam rapidly towards Misty. Starmie, no matter how fast a human swims, they can't outrun a water-type Pokémon like Gyarados. In this crisis, Misty's only thought was to call for help from the Starmie she had summoned earlier. In the vast ocean, Gyarados' fighting power was terrifying. Moreover, this was an entire horde of Gyarados. Pikachu, they're here. Finally here. Unlike Misty's fear, Mu Chen was filled with excitement. Putting aside other thoughts, Mu Chen focused intently on the approaching Gyarados army. He knew that this was the enemy of this unknown mission. Chapter 185, Was he cuckolded? Rilakkuma. Before Mu Chen could react, Kirlia, using teleport to travel, was the first to arrive on the battlefield, facing the approaching army of Gyarados. After letting out a roar, psychic ripples spread across her head, and she unleashed a powerful attack on the leading Gyarados. Roar, suddenly controlled by psychic energy, the Gyarados frantically thrashed its massive body. Melodic followed closely behind, also arriving on the battlefield. It unleashed a series of water pulse attacks, which, while not causing significant damage to the Gyarados, successfully slowed their charge. Pikachu, well done. Seeing his two female companions arrive to support him, Mu Chen was overjoyed. Although Mu Chen was a type advantage over these Gyarados, in the sea, he couldn't unleash much of his power against them. After all, this was their home turf. Now that Melodic and Kirlia are stalling for time, Mu Chen can confidently charge up his power. Of course, before that, Mu Chen's task is to cover Xiaoxia's successful landing. No. Pikachu, come with me. You can't fight in the sea. Because they are already very familiar with each other, Xiaoxia can easily understand some of Pikachu's simple gestures. When she saw Pikachu waving its hands repeatedly, indicating that it should use Starmie to reach the shore as quickly as possible, Xiaoxia objected. If it were on land, everything would be fine, but in the sea, with Pikachu's poor swimming ability, how could Xiaoxia possibly feel at ease? Pika, damn it. Don't give me that nonsense. Seeing that Xiaoxia still wanted to stay, Mu Chen was immediately furious. Even if you're a good swimmer, what can you do for me if you stay in the sea? This mission has a chance of losing Xiaoxia, Kirlia, and Melodic. How could Mu Chen let Xiaoxia, who had no fighting ability, stay behind and risk her life? Without any nonsense, Mu Chen forcefully broke free from Xiaoxia's embrace and, with a few doggy paddle strokes, swam towards Melodic. Swimming ability was never a concern for Mu Chen. At this moment, all he wanted was to quickly reach Melodic's side and fight on the old woman's back. Starmie, go help Pikachu. Seeing Pikachu struggling to swim in the water, Xiaoxia quickly gave the command to Starmie, who had already reached her side. The Gyarados army's momentum had been temporarily halted, and Xiaoxia, no longer in danger, could swim back to shore on her own. Ha! Receiving Xiaoxia's command, Starmie sped up at incredible speed, like a giant surfboard, heading straight for Pikachu. Pika, this one's not bad either. With Starmie by his side, Mu Chen, of course, wouldn't hesitate. Anyway, Xiaoxia was safe, and fighting from Starmie's back was just as good. Clinging to the edge of Starmie, Mu Chen laboriously climbed to the most stable center position. Roar, just as Mu Chen obtained his mount and prepared to support his two girls, the Gyarados army arrived before Kirlia and Melodic. A Gyarados opened its crimson maw and viciously bit at Kirlia, who was floating in midair. Judging from the dense black energy in its mouth, this bite was clearly a dark-type move. Crunch! Relic, facing Gyarados' attack, Kirlia naturally wouldn't take it head-on. As it let out a cry, Kirlia's figure, which had remained in place, had already turned into a blur. Roar! But just as Kirlia, having used teleport to change position, was about to counterattack, a roar came from behind it. It should be noted that there were more than just one or two Gyarados. Although Kirlia dodged a Gyarados attack with her agile movements, she had clearly lost the chance to use instant again in the face of this surprise attack from behind. Pikachu! Pikachu, seeing his girl about to be hit, Mu Chen didn't have time to think and unleashed a thunder wave at the Gyarados that had launched the sneak attack. Although the thunder wave couldn't harm the Gyarados, its speed was its advantage, and Mu Chen's only goal was to quickly rescue Kirlia. Roar! A sudden paralysis struck, and the attacking Gyarados immediately stopped. Rilakkuma, taking advantage of this opportunity, Kirlia used instant again. This time, after reaching a safe position high in the sky, the proud little girl was furious. The Gyarados' sneak attack had truly given Kirlia a fright. Now that she was safe, the proud little girl naturally wanted to retaliate against the Gyarados. After letting out an angry roar, she unleashed a surge of psychic energy. Roar! Already paralyzed by the electromagnetic waves, Gyarados, who was performing its mechanical dance, panicked. Under the control of its psychic power, Gyarados was instantly pulled off the water and began performing a unique mechanical dance in midair. I know. At the same time, Milotic was also entangled by two Gyarados that rushed up to it. Although Milotic was huge, Gyarados were not to be outdone. The two Gyarados tightly bound Milotic in the middle, one biting Milotic's neck and the other biting Milotic's tail, tearing at it desperately. Pikachu! Pikachu! Holy crap! How dare you touch my girl! Attracted by Milotic's pitiful screams, Mu Chen quickly shifted his attention. What he saw made Mu Chen's eyes widen in fury. Damn it! My precious baby! Watching Milotic writhe in the sea, being entangled and torn apart, Mu Chen didn't have time to think and unleashed a thunderbolt. In this situation, electromagnetic waves were clearly ineffective. Although the thunderbolt would also injure Milotic, it was better than letting Milotic be entangled and torn apart by this ugly creature, wasn't it? Looking at Milotic and Gyarados writhing in the water, Mu Chen's mind drifted back to the animal documentaries he'd watched in his previous life. It seemed that some large snakes made it in this way. Thinking of this, Mu Chen suddenly felt as if he'd been cuckolded. Of course, Mu Chen knew that such things were impossible in this situation. Milotic was indeed engaged in a fierce battle with Gyarados. However, this scene filled Mu Chen with unprecedented rage. Chapter 186 He got a home run. Zzzzzzzzzzzzzzz. Using Starmie's speed, Mu Chen had already reached the center of the battle. After helping Milotic escape with a thunderbolt, Mu Chen entered berserk mode. Sparks of electricity never ceased on his cheeks. Bolts of electricity shot out as Mu Chen unleashed a barrage of thunderbolt attacks on the Gyarados trying to pounce. Although Gyarados was powerful, although Gyarados was formidable, and although it was fighting on its home turf, it was still unable to break through Mu Chen's electric net due to its type advantage, and couldn't launch any attack on the wretched yellow rat within it. Roar! Finally, after Mu Chen had knocked out 4 or 5 of its companions with electricity, the largest Gyarados erupted. It stretched out its long neck and roared angrily at the sky. Then, this Gyarados began to spin wildly. As Gyarados spun, violent whirlwinds gathered around it. Finally, a tornado, seemingly reaching the heavens, formed before Mu Chen's eyes and slammed towards him. Pikachu! Holy crap! Run! Faced with this devastating attack, Mu Chen had no will to resist. It was utterly unstoppable. Mu Chen knew that if his small frame were blown into the air by the tornado, he'd be severely injured, if not killed. And, most importantly, he was fighting these Gyarados in the ocean. Without Starmie as his mount, forget about building an electric net with 100,000 volts, escaping would be impossible. Unfortunately, while Starmie was fast, the tornado was even faster. Whoosh! Whoosh! The gale swept in, and Mu Chen could only cling tightly to Starmie to avoid being carried away. Ha! If Mu Chen were on Milotic's back at this moment, Milotic wouldn't abandon him in this dangerous situation. However, it was Starmie carrying Mu Chen. Starmie felt that it had absolutely no affection for this yellow-skinned mouse. It had only carried it in battle because of its master's request. Now, Facing mortal danger, Starmie wasn't going to serve. After letting out a cry, Starmie began to spin wildly. After successfully shaking off Pikachu, Starmie plunged headfirst into the depths of the sea. Whatever, I don't know you, Pikachu. Pika, holy crap. Mu Chen, who had been thrown off by Starmie and was floating in midair, was stunned. This was so disloyal. My bond with your master had only just begun to blossom. But it was too late to say anything now. After being thrown into the air, Mu Chen had no control over his body. A fierce wind howled, and Mu Chen was like a small boat, spinning endlessly within the tornado. Just as Mu Chen was about to despair, a loud cry rang out. It turned out that seeing her little man in danger, Melodic had immediately abandoned its opponent and rushed towards the yellow figure spinning wildly in the wind. Pikachu, Pikachu, good woman. I haven't spoiled you for nothing. Seeing Melodic risk its life to save him, Mu Chen was moved once again. This woman has a conscience. However, in Mu Chen's expectant gaze, what appeared in his vision was not Melodic's strong body, not the body he had imagined that would shield him from the wind and rain. In Mu Chen's pupils, a huge, multicolored tail, shimmering with bursts of light and dripping with water droplets, was gradually enlarging. Splash! Seriously, this tornado is so violent, even I, the old woman, would be in great danger if I were caught in it. I've done more than enough by whipping you out of the tornado's reach with one tail. Melodic's rescue of Mu Chen involved using her massive tail to swat the yellow-skinned rat away. At least, the rat wouldn't be completely swept into the sky by the tornado, right? Pikachu, damn it. Mu Chen, already dizzy from being in the tornado, was now hit with a powerful home run by Melodic. He felt like he was on a roller coaster, experiencing the extreme speed thrill he didn't crave. Lilu, just as Melodic's home run power was exhausted, and Mu Chen was about to fall into the sea, a slender figure suddenly appeared behind him, lifting him up again. Pikachu, completely bewildered. Feeling himself no longer falling, Mu Chen instinctively turned his head. And there he was, Curly's pretty face, displaying a human-like smirk. Clearly, this arrogant little girl found a sense of superiority in Mu Chen for the first time. Damn it. Looks like I've been too lenient with you guys lately, haven't I? Through Melodic and Curly's behavior, Mu Chen finally realized that he had been too engrossed in those girls and neglected these two. Obviously, these two girls were planning a rebellion. Because of his previous encounter with Misty, Mu Chen secretly decided to officially enter a period of abstinence. I'll use this time to regain my prestige and let these two girls know who's the master of this house. Roar! Just as Mu Chen was lost in thought after being rescued, a furious roar suddenly rang out. It was Gyarados, the one who had previously unleashed the tornado. Seeing its prey escape, the enraged Gyarados soared into the sky. It leaped high out of the water and fiercely pounced on Curlia, who was hovering in midair. Pikachu, damn it! Are you guys never going to stop? Relentlessly pursued and attacked by these Gyarados, experiencing a roller coaster ride of fury, Mu Chen was already enraged. Putting aside his thoughts, Mu Chen unleashed a thunderbolt attack, imbued with his deepest rage, at the charging Gyarados. Zzz, a crackling current appeared, and the Gyarados, already upon Mu Chen, had no way to dodge the thunderbolt. But just as the thunderbolt was about to strike, a terrifying energy surge suddenly emanated from the giant's mouth. Roar! A deafening roar echoed. From Gyarados' gaping maw, a destructive force was spewed forth. The thunderbolt was instantly annihilated, and the energy continued its relentless trajectory towards Mu Chen and Curlia. This was none other than the normal-type super move, Hyper Beam. Chapter 187 Intercepting. Pikachu, faced with the oncoming Hyper Beam, Mu Chen had no choice but to take it head-on. Curlia's instant transmission had a cooldown period after each use. Whether for his own small frame or for Curlia behind him, Mu Chen's only option was to withstand the attack. Sizzle, sparks of electricity danced and leaped on his cheeks. Boom, relic, another violent explosion rang out. Because the explosion was so close, Mu Chen felt as if his skin was being torn apart by the shockwave. Just then, Curlia used instant transmission again, finally carrying Mu Chen away from this dangerous place. Pikachu, damn it, just you wait. I'll electrocute you. As soon as he was safe, sparks flashed on Mu Chen's cheeks. After being attacked continuously by this huge Gyarados, the enraged Mu Chen entered charging mode. Damn it, a regular 100,000 volts won't knock you out. So I'll unleash a super 100,000 volts, and I bet you can't withstand it. Roar. Not only was Mu Chen furious, but the Gyarados leader was equally enraged by this yellow-skinned rat. You see, this wretched yellow-skinned rat had previously knocked out several of its members. Gyarados is known for its volatile temper. How could it, as the leader, tolerate its members being repeatedly electrocuted right before its eyes? Now, the Gyarados leader's only thought was to bite this wretched yellow-skinned rat to pieces and swallow it whole. Kirlia's teleport skill doesn't have a long range, and with a burdensome Pikachu along, the distance it travels is even shorter. It was precisely because of this that the Gyarados leader could relentlessly pursue them, firmly holding on to Mu Chen and Kirlia. However, this time, Gyarados would pay the price for its arrogance. Pikachu, seeing Gyarados leap and pounce again, a cold, almost human-like smile appeared on Mu Chen's lips. Damn it, are you trying to fool me this time? Die? Amplified by the charge, a fist-thick bolt of electricity shot out from its cheeks. Roar. At such close range, a powerful move like Hyper Beam couldn't be used consecutively. This time, Gyarados had no way to avoid it. The intense current entered its body, its type being extremely weak to electric, and Gyarados' head immediately stopped its charge, its entire body convulsing as it fell into the sea. Pikachu, damn it. Trying to fool me? Chase it. You love chasing, don't you? With one electric strike knocking down Gyarados' head, Mu Chen's anger subsided slightly. Being relentlessly chased by this bastard, and then being dragged into a tornado in a sorry state, how could Mu Chen not be furious? I know, just as Mu Chen was venting his anger, Melodic's mournful cry rang out. Attracted by the cry, Mu Chen quickly turned his attention back. At the edge of his vision, the seawater churned, and several enormous Gyarados were surrounding Melodic, tearing at its body repeatedly. Blood had already soaked the seawater. Pikachu, damn it. They're asking for it. Seeing Melodic being attacked by Gyarados again, Mu Chen was instantly enraged. These damned sea thugs, if I don't electrocute them all today, I'll change my surname to theirs. With a flick of his finger, Kirlia, who was holding Mu Chen, immediately understood and activated instant transmission, charging towards Melodic's location. Roar, roar. The closer they got, the clearer the Gyarados roars became. After Melodic was torn and wounded all over, these bloodthirsty Gyarados were clearly even more excited. Pikachu, having reached the vicinity of the battle point, Mu Chen didn't hold back, gathering his power in his cheeks and unleashing a thunderbolt at the seawater. As for why he shot at seawater? Water conducts electricity. There were 4 or 5 Gyarados attacking Melodic, and attacking them one by one was simply not enough to quickly rescue Melodic. Although the power of Thunderbolt would be greatly reduced after attacking the seawater, and although Melodic would still suffer some damage, it was the most effective method at the moment. Zzzzz. Zzzzz. Electricity flashed continuously as Mu Chen's Thunderbolt seemed to be used without restraint, desperately shooting towards the seawater. Roar, roar. The flying-type and water-type Gyarados had no resistance to electric-type moves, and under the constant onslaught of electricity, the Gyarados army immediately let out painful roars. Similarly, a thunderbolt attack struck Melodic. However, its single water-type made Melodic much more resistant to electric-type moves than Gyarados. By repeatedly using Recover, Melodic managed to shake off the Gyarados that were relentlessly pursuing it. Pikachu. Nodding to the retreating Melodic, Mu Chen's short arms waved wildly once more. Damn it, I told you before, I wouldn't stop until I'd electrocuted them all. After a fierce exchange, only 3 Gyarados remained floating on the surface of the sea. Mu Chen certainly didn't intend to let these last 3 Gyarados go either. If he was going to electrocute them, he'd electrocute them all. Ha ha ha. Great, I caught Gyarados. This Gyarados is mine, nobody can take it. Just as Mu Chen was about to press on and use his speed to take down the last 3 barely clinging Gyarados, a burst of excited laughter suddenly came from behind him. Immediately, several Pokeballs flew out, bouncing towards the exhausted Gyarados. Pikachu, holy crap! What's going on? Looking at the Gyarados now in a Pokeball, Mu Chen was stunned. Turning his head, he realized it was the same delinquents who had fought Ash earlier. After Ash went to watch the battle at the bridge, these delinquents were also drawn over. When they saw Pikachu's terrifying fighting power, it was impossible not to be afraid. However, the allure of Gyarados was immense. This thing was an incredibly powerful Pokémon. After seeing Pikachu defeat the Gyarados army, these delinquents finally couldn't resist making their move. Several delinquents with flying Pokémon flew over the battlefield and unleashed a barrage of Pokéballs at the remaining Gyarados. They had successfully intercepted Mu Chen. The Gyarados had been captured by these delinquents. Chapter 188. Prepare to face the fury of thunder. Haha. Little thing, what, you're not happy about it? If you know what's good for you, get out of the way, or don't blame us for being impolite. What's with all the nonsense? Go for it. Electrode. Having his hard-fought Gyarados snatched away, Mu Chen was enraged. The fact that someone else had captured the Gyarados didn't bother Mu Chen. But these were his prey he had already wounded. His hard-fought battle had been rewarded to others. This was something Mu Chen couldn't tolerate. Seeing the arrogant delinquents, Mu Chen directly signaled Kirlia to use teleport to block their path. Damn it, you little brats, did I give you any face? At this moment, a murderous surge even rose in Mu Chen's heart. Because of his upbringing in his previous life, even when facing Team Rocket, Mu Chen had never felt such a strong urge to kill. And now, these delinquents had successfully provoked Mu Chen's killing intent. Pikachu, blocking the path of the delinquents, Mu Chen was rapidly communicating with the system in his mind. His Gyarados had been defeated, and the previous random mission was complete. At this moment, Mu Chen was spinning the wheel to claim his reward. System, I know you can understand me. Now, I'm telling you very clearly, give me a way to quickly increase my strength. Even if it's a one-time thing, I'm going to kill all these bastards. This was Mu Chen's thought at that moment. Having interacted with the system for a long time, Mu Chen knew that this system was not some rigid electronic program. Whether it was the issuance of missions or the receipt of rewards, almost everything was predictable and under the system's control. Now, the enraged Mu Chen's request was for the system to directly give him a reward that could eliminate his opponents. Because of the previous battle, Mu Chen was now exhausted. This was why these delinquents showed no fear of him. Therefore, to deal with these despicable guys, Mu Chen could only rely on the system. Ding ding, according to the host's request, the roulette reward is cancelled, and the reward is issued. Finally, to Mu Chen's surprise, the system responded. Mu Chen's request was fulfilled, and correspondingly, the roulette reward was cancelled. Mu Chen found this result completely acceptable. Looking at the reward issued by the system in his mind, a cold smile appeared on Mu Chen's lips. A bunch of idiots, prepare to receive the punishment from the thunder. Go. Electrode, use Big Bang, let's not fall behind. Coughing, charge up and use self-destruct. Blocked by Pikachu, the delinquents, after their threats failed, decisively chose the explosive tactic. A mere Pikachu, a mere Kirlia. If these two Pokémon were at their peak, these delinquents, having witnessed their strength, might not have dared to provoke them. However, now, Pikachu, facing the delinquents' attack, Mu Chen completely ignored it. He simply raised his neck high and let out a clear cry towards the sky. Suddenly, dark clouds gathered above Mu Chen's head, and gusts of wind howled. What's going on? Why did the weather change? Damn it! Could it be that Pikachu? Impossible. It's just Pikachu. How could it cause such a weather change? The sudden appearance of dark clouds threw the group of delinquents into panic. However, they assumed such a strange weather change was just a coincidence. How could a mere Pikachu possibly cause this? Pikachu, just as the delinquents hesitated, Mu Chen's cry rang out again. Then, thunder rumbled above the clouds. Crackling and popping, beneath the dark clouds, countless bolts of electricity leaped and crisscrossed, creating an apocalyptic scene that completely terrified the delinquents. Boom, boom, boom. Before the delinquents could react, before the electrode and coughing could reach Mu Chen, bolts of lightning struck, mercilessly attacking the enemy hidden under the dark clouds. This was none other than the legendary move of the Zapdos, Thunderstrike. Oh my god. Run, help. I don't want to die, mommy. Save me. Mommy, I want to go home. Under the divine punishment of the thunder, the delinquents were utterly powerless to resist. When they saw the horrific side of the electric-type Pokémon Electrode being struck by lightning and instantly blasted apart, the delinquents let out terrified screams. However, under the merciless thunder, there was no mercy. Unable to dodge in time, one of the unlucky delinquents was hit first. Seeing their companion blasted into the sea by a bolt of lightning, his fate unknown, The remaining delinquents were even more terrified. Please. Stop. We were wrong, spare us, please, spare us. A strange scene appeared in the sky and above the sea. Several delinquents were kneeling on their flying Pokémon, repeatedly kowtowing and begging for mercy to Pikachu being held by Kirlia. Anyone who didn't know the situation would doubt their own imagination. But only those truly experiencing the terrifying impact of this thunderous punishment would know just how intense the fear was. Pikachu, facing the pleading delinquents, Mu Chen sneered repeatedly. But unfortunately, he could only generously forgive them. There was no other way. This thunderbolt had left Mu Chen, already exhausted, in a state of collapse. If Kirlia hadn't been so understanding in holding him up, he probably wouldn't have been able to lift his head. Thank you. Thank you, we'll release the Gyarados right now, thank you, oh my god. We're saved. The dark clouds gradually dissipated, the thunder faded, and the sky returned to its previous clear state. Having survived the ordeal, the group of delinquents immediately shed tears of joy. Pikachu, ignoring the delinquents busy releasing the Gyarados, Mu Chen commanded Kirlia to fly towards Misty on the shore. Damn, this is exhausting. This thunder skill is really powerful. But why does this skill have a pseudo in it? Why the hell does having a cooldown timer after having pseudo? Looking at the 48-hour cooldown countdown in his head, Mu Chen was filled with 1,000 curses. Chapter 189. Did Zyloxia kiss me? Zyloxia, Pikachu, are you alright? After Ash sent all his Pokémon to support Pikachu, he was captured by several delinquents. In their eyes, Ash was their easy prey. How could they let him escape? But as the battle raged on the sea beneath a bridge, the delinquents panicked. That Pikachu that refused to fight was actually this powerful? In their confusion, their control over Ash naturally crumbled. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Ash quickly escaped the delinquents' encirclement and ran towards Zyloxia under the bridge. Of course, Ash wasn't stupid, even though he was headstrong. Now, without a single Pokémon to fight, how could he possibly fight these delinquents head-on? Even if they continued fighting later, it would be after Pikachu and the others returned safely. After Ash left, the delinquents naturally wanted to give chase. But at that moment, the situation on the sea changed. The Gyarados army was routed. Seeing the few remaining Gyarados, the delinquents decisively abandoned Ash. Gyarados are incredibly valuable Pokémon. However, because they live in the ocean and usually travel in packs with formidable strength, capturing them is extremely difficult. Now that they've found several Gyarados that they can easily catch, how could these delinquents resist? All the delinquents with flying Pokémon mobilized, which naturally provoked Mu Chen's anger, resulting in a devastating lightning strike. After the lightning dissipated, not a single delinquent remained on the bridge. Having witnessed Pikachu's terrifying attack, how could these delinquents dare to linger? This isn't just a steel plate, it's the titanium alloy plate. Ash, I'm fine, but Pikachu and the others aren't doing well. Let's hurry to the Pokémon Center. After defeating the Gyarados and the delinquents, Mu Chen, with Kirlia's help, successfully returned to shore. Entering Misty's warm embrace again, a wave of exhaustion washed over Mu Chen, and he instantly fell unconscious. Similarly, not only Mu Chen, but Kirlia and Melodic, who had fought a fierce battle, were also in extremely poor condition. Melodic's wounds were obvious. She had been fighting on the front lines, hand-to-hand combat with those Gyarados. Even Kirlia, due to overusing teleport, was now exhausted. The proud girl was only barely holding on because of her arrogant personality. It's so good you're alright. Misty, wait a minute, I'll go tell those guys, I'll come find them later. Because he had been running all the way across the bridge, Ash hadn't witnessed Pikachu's thunder attack. This meant the unfortunate boy had no idea that his Pikachu had completely shattered the courage of those delinquents. Ash had originally planned to tell the delinquents that he could continue the battle after his Pokémon was healed. Unexpectedly, when he turned his head, there was no one left on the bridge. Pikachu, when he regained consciousness, Mu Chen found himself in Ash's arms. Damn, this was truly exhausting. This naval battle had left Mu Chen physically and mentally drained. However, his gains were considerable. First, he completely confirmed his feelings for Misty. His heart, that of a scumbag, had been completely conquered by Misty. Mu Chen knew that he would probably never be able to abandon this girl he loved so dearly. Secondly, Mu Chen obtained a powerful move through the system mission. Although the thunder skill was fake, and although it had a cooldown, its advantages outweighed its disadvantages. Such a powerful move was a qualitative leap from Mu Chen. HMPH. From now on, when my move is ready, anyone who dares to challenge me will be given a charged thunder. Mu Chen believed that with a boost from the charge skill, the power of this thunder skill wouldn't be much weaker than Ned's Zapdus's. This was definitely a super move that could change the course of the battle. Haha. Pikachu, great, you're finally awake. Awakened by Mu Chen's shout, the sleepy-eyed Ash immediately became excited. It should be noted that a whole day had passed since Pikachu fell unconscious. After Nurse Joy's treatment, all of Pikachu's injuries had healed. However, due to severe exhaustion, Pikachu remained unconscious. Therefore, Ash and Misty didn't leave immediately but waited until Pikachu woke up. Pika, where's Misty? Having just woken up, Mu Chen wasn't fully awake. Now, gradually calming down, Mu Chen realized that Misty wasn't there. Pikachu, what are you looking for? Are you looking for Misty? Don't worry, she's probably still reporting to Officer Jenny. The battle on the sea had broken out in the city, and as the city's security manager, Officer Jenny naturally had to investigate. Ash didn't know the full details of the battle and also needed to take care of Pikachu, so the task of explaining things to Officer Jenny naturally fell to Misty. Pika, knowing that Misty was safe and sound, Mu Chen immediately felt relieved. Come to think of it, I remember, before I passed out, Misty seemed to have kissed me. Calming down, Mu Chen began to recall what happened before he passed out. Thinking back carefully, when he jumped from Curlia into Misty's arms, this girl seemed to have really kissed him. Holy crap! Holy crap! Holy crap! This was the first time in my life that a woman other than my mother had kissed me. At this moment, Mu Chen was filled with regret. His first kiss with a girl happened right before he was about to faint, and he didn't feel a thing? Wasn't that like it ended before it even began? Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. I'll make sure Xiaoxia kisses me again, no matter what, to make up for this regret. Ah. Finally over. Alright, Ash, Officer Jenny has a task for us. Huh? Pikachu, you're awake? Great, you're finally awake. You know how worried I was. Just as Mu Chen was secretly annoyed, Xiaoxia's tired voice came through. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190 Establishing Family Rules. Xiaoxia, is this the place Officer Jenny was talking about? Ash looked at the endless mountain range before him, his face full of doubt. Was this the headquarters of those delinquents? After Xiaoxia reported what had happened to Officer Jenny had given her and Ash a task, to find out the location of the delinquents' headquarters. Although these delinquents wouldn't actually commit murder, their methods of luring trainers and stealing Pokémon under the guise of battle still had a very negative impact. Unfortunately, Officer Jenny had investigated several times, but always gave up due to the complex terrain of the mountains. Now, seeing Xiaoxia and Ash, who could defeat the delinquents, Officer Jenny was tempted. If she investigated herself, these delinquents would all be hiding. But what about letting the trainers investigate? The delinquents who intercepted Ash were only a small part of their gang. Most of the delinquents had never seen Ash and Xiaoxia before. If they let them investigate, those despicable guys won't take any precautions. This greatly increases the success rate. Officer Jenny, who manages the security, knows very well that if this gang of delinquents isn't eliminated sooner or later, it will eventually develop into an evil organization like Team Rocket. Therefore, Ash and Misty have changed their plans due to this sudden mission, heading straight into the Wild Mountains. That's right, Officer Jenny gave us the approximate location, but we'll need to investigate the exact spot. Looking at the map, Misty gave Ash a positive answer. Then let's rest here for the night and head into the mountains first thing tomorrow morning. By the way, Misty, didn't you rest well? Why is your face so red? We weren't walking in a hurry, were we? It was already nearing sunset, and going into the mountains at night was obviously unsafe. However, what intrigued Ash was why Misty's face was so flushed. They had only been traveling normally and had rested several times. It shouldn't be like this. Ah. It's nothing, don't worry about me. Hearing Xiaoxia's question, Xiaoxia quickly brushed him off. Seriously? Did she expect her little girl to tell her that her starter Pokémon, Pikachu, was up to her? Previously, Mu Chen, regretting the kiss he hadn't experienced, had been demanding a rematch from Xiaoxia after her return. As a girl, kissing Pikachu is simply a result of emotional excitement. Now that he was sober, how could Xiaoxia possibly refuse? Refusing was only natural. Mu Chen absolutely couldn't tolerate Xiaoxia's refusal. However, this girl was determined, and Mu Chen had no choice but to compromise. A kiss wouldn't do, but a touch would surely be acceptable, right? Because of the previous accident, because of the heightened emotions, Xiaoxia surprisingly agreed to Mu Chen's shameless request. But she regretted it shortly after agreeing. Unfortunately, Pikachu had already tasted the sweetness. Whenever she had the chance, those little arms had to be used. As a result, Xiaoxia was basically taken advantage of by Pikachu the whole way. How could Xiaoxia's pretty face not blush with embarrassment under such circumstances? Pikachu! You little rascal, have you had enough? I'm telling you, if you don't control yourself, I'm going to get angry. Finally, when Ash went to feed Kirlia and the other Pokémon, Xiaoxia found an opportunity to threaten Pikachu. This little rascal, taking advantage of the journey and the fact that she had promised him a touch, had actually gone too far, touching him the whole way. Pika Pika, with a silly, cute smile, Mu Chen sheepishly withdrew his little arms. Just as Xiaoxia said, he really had taken full advantage of her along the way. As the saying goes, no one to stop. Seeing that Xiaoxia was on the verge of anger, Mu Chen could only call it quits. Fine, I've touched you enough today, I'll let you go. Having abandoned his opportunistic thoughts, Mu Chen began preparing for his next grand plan. Now that his Dynamax skill had been restored, Mu Chen, still burning with pent-up energy from his day of taking advantage, was determined to challenge Melodic to a duel in the middle of the night. However, before that, Mu Chen planned to first get Kirlia out of the room and properly strengthen their bond. Because of Melodic's successful evolution last time, Mu Chen felt that this midnight chat might also help Pokémon evolve. Considering Ash's unhatched egg, Mu Chen naturally wanted Kirlia to evolve first. Of course, Misty was unaware of Mu Chen's ulterior motives. Seeing Pikachu calm down, Misty suppressed her anger and began feeding her own Pokémon. After a long wait, night finally fell. Rilakkuma, Mu Chen was very skilled at stealing Pokéballs at midnight. However, unlike before, Kirlia immediately assumed a battle stance as soon as it was summoned. Previously, Mu Chen thought it was because she was too nervous. But unexpectedly, when Mu Chen walked towards Kirlia, intending to get closer to her, this little brat suddenly erupted. With a psychic attack, Mu Chen was frozen in midair, completely bewildered. Pikachu, holy crap, what's going on? I just wanted to have a heart-to-heart talk with you. How could Mu Chen know that when Ash first caught Kirlia, when she was still Ralts, his confirmation left a deep psychological scar on this little brat? How similar was the current situation to that past scene? Summoned by Pikachu at midnight, how could Kirlia not be nervous? This wretched yellow mouse, is it trying to pounce on me again? Thinking of that possibility, Kirlia's psychic fluctuations increased even more. Pikachu, damn it. You're really something else, aren't you? The heart-to-heart talk ended before it even began, and Mu Chen was instantly furious. He'd been planning to nicely build a relationship with her, and she insisted on forcing him to beat her up. In his rage, Mu Chen unleashed a devastating 100,000 volts of power, instantly blasting away Kirlia's psychic energy fluctuations. A golden figure flashed through the shadows, tackling the panicked Kirlia before she could even use instant transmission. Immediately, the sounds of slap, slap, echoed through the midnight air. Having pinned this little vixen down, Mu Chen, enraged, gave her a thorough beating on her bottom. Damn it, today I'm going to establish some rules for you, let you know who's in charge here. However, the furious Mu Chen didn't notice that under his blows, Kirlia's resistance gradually weakened, and a hint of shy desire flickered in her eyes. Chapter 191 Xiao Zhi's method of going with the flow. Pikachu, Mu Chen was truly refreshed and invigorated. He'd given Kirlia a good talking to in the middle of the night, venting some of his pent-up anger. But that wasn't enough. Having taken advantage of him all day, the pent-up frustration wasn't going to dissipate so easily. Although Kirlia was now quite attractive to him, and although she was so easy to seduce, the system prevented him from doing the get-it-over-with thing. Therefore, after subduing Kirlia, He promptly recalled her to her Pokeball. However, Mu Chen didn't notice the hint of resentment in Kirlia's eyes before she was put back in her Pokeball. With Kirlia dealt with, Milotic was next. As Mu Chen's old rival, Milotic was certainly not as inexperienced as Kirlia. The familiar scene, the familiar battle style, the familiar battle rhythm, all appeared once again in the Midnight Wilderness. But this time, to Mu Chen's surprise, his Dynamax skill had actually gained experience. Previously, this skill was level 0 with 0 experience points. Now, it was level 0 with 1 experience point. Seeing that Dynamax only needed 9 more experience points to level up, Mu Chen was immediately moved to tears. What a generous offer. Previously, Mu Chen had been genuinely curious about how to level up this skill. But he never expected that the way to level it up would be through this free-to-use proficiency system. Every time he used it, it gained 1 experience point? If that's the case, wouldn't the skill gain another experience point after tonight? Simply adding 1 part to Dynamax was practically useless for Mu Chen's battles. However, if he could level it up to the point where his entire body could grow larger, it would provide him with a huge advantage in battles. Mu Chen never refused anything that increased his strength. In his excitement, Mu Chen's sprint was even more ferocious than usual. Pikachu's sudden acceleration startled Milotic at first. However, relying on its powerful self-recovery ability, Milotic ultimately persevered to the end. In this battle, Mu Chen and Milotic were evenly matched. Mu Chen could only admire Milotic's powerful recovery and adaptability. The ancients were right, indeed, there are no fields ruined by overworked oxen. Kirlia used Psychic, Mu Chen was refreshed, and Ash was also full of energy. In this wild mountain wilderness, there were far more wild Pokémon than near the road. Although most of them were common ones that didn't inspire any desire to catch them, being able to battle was a happy thing for Ash. Of course, the protagonist of the battle was Kirlia. Milotic was not suitable for fighting on land, and Pidgeotto's stubbornness was not as strong as Kirlia's. As for Pikachu, Ash didn't even bother summoning it for such a weak battle. It's obvious this lazybones would be a fool to even participate in the battle. Ash, there's a fork in the road ahead, what do we do? Deep in these mountains, there's no clear direction. Ash and Misty can only rely on luck to find the delinquents' headquarters. Before, it was fine, there was only one road. But when they reached this fork, Misty hesitated. What if they chose the wrong direction? Oh, what's the big deal? Watch me. Multiple choice was clearly no problem for Ash. He casually pulled a coin from his pocket and tossed it into the air. What are you doing? Misty was bewildered by Ash's inexplicable action. Heads, left, tails, right. Simple, looking at the matter-of-fact Ash. Misty was speechless. Well, so this is the legendary go-with-the-flow method? Unfortunately, Ash had already chosen his direction and strode forward. Even though Misty was dissatisfied, she could only hurry to follow. Pikachu. You can't be like Ash, that guy is so unreliable. Aksha was originally planning to lecture Pikachu in her arms, telling him not to do such irresponsible things like Ash. But before she could finish speaking, Aksha was startled and blurted out a curse. Kids, who are you? Where did you come from? Looking at the several non-mainstream looking delinquents in front of her, Aksha knew perfectly well that Ash had made the right choice. Seeing the delinquents appear, Ash's eyes lit up. He hadn't expected such good luck. He thought it would take him a whole day and a half to find them. Just as Ash was about to state his purpose, Aksha suddenly rushed forward. It's like this. We both came from Stone Town. Because we admire your team, we came here specifically to find out where you are and want to join you. Officer Jenny's task was to investigate the headquarters of these delinquents. If Ash, that idiot, just blurted it out, how could they investigate? Ha ha ha. I didn't expect our organization to be so famous. Alright. You two, come with us. Seeing that Ash and his companion only had a Pikachu with them, the group of delinquents didn't think much of it. Clearly, they weren't the same people Ash had encountered on the bridge. Aksha, why are you stopping me? Falling behind the delinquents leading the way, Ash looked completely bewildered. We came here to capture them, right? Why aren't they attacking now that they've found their target? And what is Aksha saying? Join them? Just thinking about their outlandish outfits made Ash's hair stand on end. Seriously? If my mom, Hanako, saw me dressed like this, wouldn't she kill me on the spot? Ash, get a grip. Even if we defeat them now, what then? Don't forget, Our goal is to investigate their headquarters. Pikachu, what a clueless idiot. As Xiaoxia answered with a look of utter helplessness, Mu Chen also expressed his deep contempt for Xiaozi. Why make it so complicated? Just defeat them and force them to reveal the location of their headquarters. Wouldn't that be better? Everyone thinks differently. Xiaoxia's idea was to use a scheme to trick the delinquents into revealing the location of their headquarters. But Xiaozi, the battle maniac? Naturally, he would solve the problem with force. Pikachu, holy crap. Has this guy gotten smarter, or have I gotten dumber? Hearing Xiaozi's words, Mu Chen suddenly realized that Xiaoxia's efforts were indeed unnecessary. What's going on with these two? Just as Xiaozi and Xiaoxia were still talking, the delinquents leading the way encountered their companions ahead. Obviously, they were not far from their headquarters. Oh, they're from Stone Town, saying they admire? Damn it. It's those two. Notify the boss immediately, the enemy is at our doorstep. Before the companion leading the way could finish speaking, a cry of alarm suddenly interrupted him. Chapter 192 Another Unknown Mission. Fight, Pikachu. After their identities were exposed, things returned to their original course. Knowing Pikachu's terrifying power, none of the delinquents dared to stay and battle Ash. Faced with the fleeing delinquents, Ash had no choice but to order Pikachu to fight. At least one had to stay, otherwise, they wouldn't be able to find out their headquarters. Pika, if it were anything else, Mu Chen might have chosen to slack off. But with these delinquents as his opponents, it was a different story. These despicable guys dared to steal his victory? Although he had already defeated these delinquents with a single thunderbolt, Mu Chen's anger hadn't completely subsided. Now that he encountered them again, killing them wouldn't be necessary, but electrifying a couple of them was a must. Zzz. Electricity flashed, and sparks leaped. Mu Chen showed no mercy to these despicable guys. With a single 100,000-volt strike, one of the fleeing non-mainstream kids was suddenly breaking into a breakdance. However, Mu Chen's attack only went so far. Terrified by Pikachu's devastating thunderbolt, these delinquents scattered and fled the moment they confirmed Ash's group's identities. Even with Mu Chen's swift movements, he could only leave one behind. Pika, looking at the still convulsing guy, Mu Chen waved to Xiaoxia. Taking him down with electric shocks was his specialty. Interrogation was out of the question. Tell me, where is your headquarters? How many people are in your group? Xiaoxia's close relationship with Pikachu is well known. Seeing the little guy wave his short arms, Xiaoxia immediately understood. I don't know anything, spare me. Pressed by Xiaoxia, the unfortunate guy immediately burst into tears and begged for mercy. Just 2 days ago, he had been kowtowing to Pikachu on the sea. Unexpectedly, not long after, he experienced it again. This unlucky fellow was filled with helplessness. Why me out of so many people, he thought. But how could he know that with his brightly colored pineapple head, so eye-catching, who else would he shock? Don't know? How could I not know? Where is your headquarters? If you don't tell me, I'll have Pikachu do it. Seeing this guy's complete ignorance, only constantly kowtowing and begging for mercy, Xiaoxia was furious. Did he think she was stupid? How could she not know where her headquarters was? I really don't know. We're all peripheral members, we usually meet in a cave not far from here. But that's not our headquarters. As for how many people are in our organization, I have even less of a clue. Please spare me. Hearing about having Pikachu do it, the unlucky fellow panicked. The divine punishment 2 days ago was still vivid in his mind. Thinking of his companion being struck by lightning and thrown into the sea, he almost peed his pants in fear. Unfortunately, he really couldn't give a definite answer to Xiaoxia's question. What? Then take us to that cave where we meet up. Hearing this guy say that, Xiaoxia knew that this bad gang was probably not as simple as she had imagined. Even their own members didn't know the location of their headquarters? Beep, random mission activated. Team Rocket's secret branch. Mission requirements: destroy Team Rocket's secret branch and capture its leader, Chen Yi. Mission reward: unknown. Failure penalty: if you can still fail against Team Rocket, then you should probably go back to the furnace for retraining. Having electrocuted this unlucky nobody, Mu Chen was already preparing to relax. But before he could even get into position, the electronic voice sounded in his mind again. Hearing the mission given by the system, Mu Chen was dumbfounded. This is ridiculous. He just completed one unknown mission, and now another unknown mission? Do you think I'm Superman? After the last great battle, Mu Chen had only just recovered from his exhaustion. Unexpectedly, what seemed like an easy, casual mission turned out to be orchestrated by Team Rocket. No wonder. No wonder these delinquents were so arrogant. No wonder they could still live so carefree and comfortable despite Officer Jenny's attempts to capture them. They've got powerful backers. Knowing that this mission would truly involve facing that Team Rocket guy, Tatsumi, Mu Chen decisively entered combat mode. As the saying goes, no unknown mission is easy. This is the cave where you met up. Just as Mu Chen was considering how to handle this mission, Ash's voice came from beside him. It turned out that the meeting point really wasn't far from their battleground. Looking at the empty cave, Mu Chen curled his lip. He thought Ash had gotten smarter and could offer a reliable suggestion. But what happened? They fought, they captured, but they didn't leave a single thing in the cave. Clearly, their actions had alerted the thugs, scaring them all away. Let me go. I really don't know anything. I've only been here a few days. Seeing the cave empty, the unfortunate fellow was naturally the most distressed. If there were companions in the cave, whether they rescued him or were captured together, it would be better than him being all alone, right? But Alice, these guys ran faster than rabbits when danger struck. Xiaoxia, what do we do? Lacking social experience, Xiaozi was truly at a loss in this situation. They'd captured a clueless nobody, the rendezvous point was deserted, and headquarters, were they really going to have to explore this vast mountain? Let's take this guy and report back to Officer Jenny. Similarly, while Xiaoxia was intelligent, her social experience wasn't much greater than Xiaozi's. In this situation, Xiaoxia was also at a loss. Catch them. The boss ordered us not to let them get away. Just as Ash and Misty were about to leave the cave and take the unfortunate boy back to report, a commotion suddenly erupted outside. Oh no. Ash, watch out. Misty, who was walking ahead, was the first to notice the situation outside the cave. The cave was now surrounded by more than a dozen delinquents. But that wasn't the most important thing. Most deadly of all, the cave exit was occupied by several gravelers. Above their heads floated an equal number of gas bombs. These things were all designed to self-destruct. Chapter 193 Chennai. Pikachu. At this moment, Mu Chen was filled with helplessness. I know a lot of skills, why can't I even use dig? The cave exit was blocked. Although the delinquents hadn't directly attacked, Mu Chen and Xiao Zhi were trapped. The most awkward thing was that neither Xiao Zhi nor Xiao Xia had a Pokémon that knew dig. If they did, the situation would be much better. But there were over a dozen Pokémon that could self-destruct at the cave exit. Mu Chen didn't have the courage to confront those exploding Pokémon head-on. One wrong move and a landslide would happen. He'd either be blown away or crushed to death. Hey, I have a Sandshrew, maybe we can escape. Faced with a constant threat of being blown away by an explosion or crushed by a landslide, this unlucky guy's only option was to turn his attention to helping Xiao Zhi and Xiao Xia escape. There was no other way. Escaping without them was obviously unrealistic. The unlucky guy declared he hadn't lived enough and didn't want to die. Haha. Why didn't you say you had Sandshrew sooner? Hurry, dig a hole and we'll escape. Hearing that this unlucky guy actually had a way to escape, Ash became excited. Although Ash also wanted to rush out and fight these despicable guys, when he saw the neatly arranged self-destruct devices, Ash's scalp tingled. Being reckless doesn't mean being brainless. Ash would fight for any chance of victory, however slight. But in this situation, Ash felt he saw absolutely no hope of winning. Pikachu, seeing that the unlucky guy could help them escape, Mu Chen's heart relaxed. Ignoring the unlucky guy, Mu Chen turned and ran towards the cave entrance. He was joking, if he didn't keep an eye on those delinquents, what if they rushed in and found him? Pikachu. It's the Pikachu that uses thunder, everyone be careful. This Pikachu is extremely fierce, it's what killed Shukshin, everyone be careful. Pikachu suddenly appeared, and the delinquents blocking the entrance panicked. They couldn't help it, the impression left by that heavenly, punishment-like thunder attack was simply too deep. Pika, damn it. A bunch of trash. Looking at the delinquents who were in such a frenzy because of his appearance, Mu Chen gave them a humane, contemptuous look. Damn it, if you hadn't ambushed and trapped me in the cave, I would have electrocuted you all by myself. But Alice, all of this was just Mu Chen's wishful thinking. Even though his appearance caused the delinquents to panic, the self-destruct army blocking the cave entrance remained completely unaffected. In fact, because of his approach, several of the more temperamental gravestones trembled. Holy crap! I'm backing away. Seeing the gravestones begin to tremble, Mu Chen retreated in fear. Hey, you better stay calm, don't get excited, absolutely don't get excited. Self-destruction can cause a chain reaction. Mu Chen was terrified that because of him, these guys might lose control and start self-destructing. Ha ha ha. Brothers, don't be afraid, this Pikachu can't get out, that's right, let's guard this exit. Once the boss and the others arrive, this Pikachu and those two brats are doomed. Seeing Mu Chen back down, the delinquent's courage returned. Yes, what are we afraid of? We've got the advantage now. What good is it if this Pikachu is powerful but can't get out? You know, the gravelers blocking the entrance are immune to electric type attacks. Pikachu, come back quickly, we can get out. After a while, with Mu Chen hesitant to advance and the delinquents not attacking, Xiaoxi's excited voice came from inside the cave. Clearly, Sandshrew is a very effective Pokemon at digging. Pikachu, hearing Xiaoxi's call, Mu Chen didn't hesitate and ran towards the cave. HMPH. These idiots, do you think blocking the cave exit means I can get out? Just wait, isn't your boss coming? Perfect, saves me the trouble of searching everywhere. Mu Chen had overheard the delinquents' conversation. He already knew that the mission target, Chen Yi from Team Rocket, would definitely come here. Mu Chen had been troubled by not being able to find the so-called Team Rocket branch in this vast mountain. But now, this guy had delivered himself to his doorstep, and Mu Chen was determined not to be polite. Chen Yi, huh? Let me see what makes you think you deserve an unknown level mission reward. Oh no. They're digging a tunnel to escape. However, these delinquents outside weren't all fools. When Pikachu confronted them earlier, these delinquents, in their tension, hadn't considered the possibility of digging a tunnel. Seeing Pikachu suddenly abandon them and run into the cave, how could they not guess what their plans were? Digging a tunnel? HMPH. These two brats won't escape. Just as the group of delinquents were thrown into panic again, a dignified voice suddenly came from behind them. Boss, greetings, boss. The newcomer was none other than the leader of the delinquent gang, a mid-level officer of Team Rocket responsible for establishing a branch in this area, Chen Yi. You all spread out. Even if they dig a tunnel, they can only appear in this vicinity. As soon as you spot a target, immediately have your Pokemon use self-destruct to delay them. After the previous battle at sea, Chen Yi already knew who his underlings were fighting. Originally, Chen Yi had planned to ambush Ash and Misty along their path. But unexpectedly, these two brats had actually come to their doorstep. That Pikachu might still have some intimidation power over these delinquents, but Chen Yi wasn't afraid of it. It was just a yellow-skinned rat. How powerful could it be? These delinquents were simply too inexperienced to be frightened by a mere yellow rat. As for Pikachu's Thunderbolt, to Chen Yi, that was utter nonsense. Pikachu could learn to thunder? That was pure absurdity. Chen Yi figured these guys hadn't beaten it before, so they were just exaggerating. The thought of the reward boss Giovanni would give him after catching this Pikachu filled Chen Yi with motivation. Others might not know, but as a mid-level executive, Chen Yi knew that this Pikachu had already been promoted to a level on boss Giovanni's capture list. That was second only to those legendary Pokemon. However, what Chen Yi didn't know was that the Pikachu he planned to capture, as prompted by the system, already knew of his existence. Chapter 194 Exaggeration? Boom. 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 A series of explosions echoed through the endless mountain range. Pikachu. Pikachu, bad luck. So damn bad luck. Looking at the unlucky guy and the Sandshrew, now blown to pieces, Mu Chen felt a chill run down his spine. Who could have imagined such bad luck? Mu Chen had expected them to be discovered by these delinquents after they escaped. However, he hadn't anticipated being discovered before they even fully emerged. This was quite embarrassing. The delinquents responsible for the search had completely followed Mu Chen's orders, self-destructing on anyone they saw. As a result, the unlucky guy at the front and the Sandshrew who escaped first became cannon fodder. Quick! Everyone summon your Pokemon. Don't let them escape, hold them off. The boss is on his way. These delinquents felt even worse than after all that indiscriminate bombing, only to kill one unlucky guy. Now, seeing the nightmarish yellow-skinned rat crawling out of the burrow, the delinquents panicked. Those capable of self-destructing had already done so, and those they wanted to explode hadn't even managed to. At this moment, their only wish was to stall for time until their leader, Chen, arrived to provide support. Pikachu, the delinquents wanted to stall, but Mu Chen, of course, wouldn't give them the chance. After a cry, electricity began to flicker on their cheeks. Seriously? Ash and Misty were still inside the tunnel. If he didn't electrocute them, how would they get up? Zzzzz. To quickly electrocute these delinquents, Mu Chen didn't bother to charge up. A barrage of 100,000 volts shot out, and several unlucky kids who couldn't dodge in time convulsed. Pikachu, a bunch of useless trash. Watching the remaining delinquents scatter and flee, Mu Chen sneered repeatedly. Ignoring the pursuit, after uttering a contemptuous taunt, Mu Chen quickly turned and, sticking out his rear end, summoned them towards the cave entrance. Now was the time to get Ash and Misty out. Did he expect them to remain underground as cave dwellers? Ah. He's dead. Ash had barely crawled out of the cave when he saw the unfortunate soul who had helped them escape. Pikachu, did he even need to ask? 4 or 5 Pokémon exploding together would kill you too. Mu Chen couldn't understand Ash's overreaction. But how could he know that Ash hadn't witnessed the aftermath of the last sea battle? This was the first time a dead body had appeared before this hopeful boy. Ash, Pikachu, let's get out of here. Seeing the casualties, Misty's face turned deathly pale. Although she had witnessed a previous sea battle, the sensory impact of falling into the sea from a distance was completely different from seeing dead bodies up close. Leave? Ha ha ha. Today, none of you will leave. Before Ash could answer, a cold, sharp voice suddenly came from above. Pikachu, attracted by the voice, Mu Chen quickly looked up. A tall, imposing man was seen riding on the back of a large beaked bird. This man was none other than the leader of these delinquents, a mid-level officer of Team Rocket, Chen. Damn it. You're the leader of these people? You despicable bastards, just wait to face Officer Jenny's punishment. Upon seeing Chen appear, Ash's sense of justice erupted. Ha ha ha. Naive? So naive? Officer Jenny's punishment? Now, you'll face my punishment first. Go. Except for that Pikachu, blow those 2 brats to bits. As the leader, Chen certainly wouldn't act rashly. Accompanying Chen were more than 10 delinquents. Relying on their self-destructing Pokémon, Chen was confident he could easily resolve the battle. Ash, quickly summon Kirlia. Come out, Sapphire, Psychic, use Psychic. Hearing Chen words, Misty was immediately shocked. More than 10 delinquents collectively commanding their Pokémon to self-destruct against the 2 of them? Heavens! Who could withstand that destructive power? In this crisis, the only solution Xiaoxia could think of was to fight their way out before they self-destructed. Originally, Xiaoxia planned to summon her strongest Pokémon, Starmie. However, before she could even finish giving the command, that silly Psychic jumped out on its own. In this urgent situation, Xiaoxia had no choice but to resort to desperate measures. Damn it! You despicable bastards! Come out, Kirlia, use Psychic. Ash was filled with rage at these people who disrespected the rules of Pokémon battles and didn't cherish their Pokémon. But as Xiaoxia said, fighting their way out was the most pressing matter for them. Trying to run? Go. Golem, use self-destruct. We can't fall behind. Charge. Coughing, and me. Electrode, it's up to you. With the order given, the delinquent naturally wouldn't hesitate. As they threw out Pokéballs, Pokémon skilled in self-destruct moves were summoned. Pikachu, you all better die. Faced with such a critical situation, Mu Chen certainly wouldn't let Xiao Zhi and Xiao Xia be in danger. Before Chen Yi appeared, Mu Chen had already begun charging up his charging skill. Now that the charging skill was complete, Mu Chen no longer held back. Originally, I was going to save this move for Chen Yi. You bastards are just unlucky. Boom! With Mu Chen's shout, the originally clear sky instantly became covered with dark clouds, and bursts of thunder came from the clouds. This was the thunder skill, which had been restored to its cooldown. After being amplified by the charging, the dark clouds summoned by this thunder skill were wider and denser. Crackling, countless electric currents could be seen running through the dark clouds, as if trying to break through the shackles of the clouds and tear the sky apart. Oh my god. It's this skill. Run, help. I don't want to die, get out of the way. Don't block my way. Get out of my way. The first to react were naturally the delinquents who had witnessed a battle at sea. The moment they witnessed the sky and earth change color, these boys were already thrown into panic. Now, seeing that familiar scene, how could they dare remain? To put it bluntly, they weren't official members of Team Rocket. These people were nothing more than thugs who bullied the weak. What? How is this possible? The most astonished of all was Tatsumi, perched on the back of a giant sparrow. Previously, when these boys reported this, Tatsumi had completely dismissed it as exaggeration. But now, it wasn't exaggeration at all, it was clearly an understatement. Chapter 195 Even striking a pose will scare you away. Boom. 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 Rolling thunderbolts rained down, their deafening roars echoing through the once silent mountains. Those who hadn't witnessed it firsthand would never understand just how terrifying it was. Under Mu Chen's deliberate command, the first wave of lightning strikes hit the gas bombs and electrode-like Pokémon charging towards Ash and Misty. As for Golem? Hell, sorry, that thing is genuinely immune to thunderbolts. Even so, it was enough for Mu Chen. Having routed the army of self-destructing Pokémon, the remaining slow-moving Golem posed no threat to Ash and Misty. This thunderbolt attack had been amplified by charging, leaving it with reserves even after defeating the army of self-destructing Pokémon. With the enemy so close, Mu Chen certainly wouldn't waste it. Guided by his will, the remaining lightning power was directed entirely towards the area where the delinquents were located. After the lightning struck, the delinquents perfectly demonstrated to Mu Chen what a mob they were, utter chaos and disarray. Under this terrifying attack, like divine punishment, the already undisciplined youths fled in terror. What team? What leader? What partners? Get the hell out of here. None of that mattered more than their own lives. Finally, the lightning attack dissipated, and the sky returned to clear. On the open field covered by the lightning, countless cratered explosion marks and several charred remains of the delinquents seemed to tell the story of what had happened. Pikachu. Well done, awesome. When did you learn this move? The most surprised and delighted was naturally Ash. Because Ash hadn't witnessed the later stages of the battle at sea, he had only just learned about Pikachu's lightning move. Seeing Pikachu unleash its Thunderbolt attack, its power no less than the terrifying divine punishment unleashed by the legendary Zapdos, Ash's eyes shone brightly. Ha ha ha. Pikachu's gotten even stronger. Doesn't this greatly increase my chances of winning the league tournament? The carefree Ash didn't dwell on Pikachu's rapid improvement. All he was thinking about was the upcoming league tournament. Damn it. How is this possible? How is this possible? Unlike Ash's delight, Chen Yi, perched on the back of a finch, was terrified. His Team Rocket branch, built up over several years, had vanished like smoke. Although these delinquents hadn't officially joined Team Rocket, many of their elite members already knew of the team's existence and were in their probationary period. Their strength wasn't weak. Originally, Chen Yi had planned to use their numerical advantage to eliminate Ash and Misty without even lifting a finger, and capture Pikachu. But who would have thought that what those guys said was actually true? A Pikachu that can generate thunder? Holy crap. Even though Chen Yi couldn't believe it anymore, the facts were already laid bare before him. Pika, letting out a long sigh, the extremely exhausted Mu Chen assumed a battle stance towards Chen Yi in the air. Others might not know, but Mu Chen knew perfectly well. This thunder skill was still too much for him. In the previous battle on the sea, he had only used the unenhanced thunder skill. Already nearing power depletion, he hadn't felt much of a strain, thunder or 100,000 volts, it was all about overdrawing his power. But this time, after using the charged thunder skill, Mu Chen realized just how much power this skill consumed. Damn it. I probably can't even unleash a single 100,000 volt attack right now. Although he was inwardly groaning, the big boss Chen Yi was still there, and the helpless Mu Chen dared not reveal the slightest weakness. For Mu Chen, there was only one word: bluff. Yes, Mu Chen regretted it immediately after using Thunderbolt. Damn it, if I'd known it would consume so much power, I would have just used a Super Thunderbolt on Chen Yi. Electrocute the boss, and these rabble would have run away. Now, the show-off's gone, and the power's gone too. Mu Chen knew this system mission was definitely impossible to complete today. Now, he could only scare Chen Yi away. Anyway, there were still plenty of twitching, still alive guys around. The unlucky guy from before might be a newbie who didn't know, but these veterans certainly knew where their headquarters was. As for whether Chen Yi would just run away, that wasn't Mu Chen's concern. Even if the mission failed, It was better than letting Chen Yi discover his true strength and capture him, right? Pikachu, attack. Use Thunderbolt. Of course, Ash was also unaware of Mu Chen's true strength. After his initial excitement, Ash decisively entered battle mode. Misty and Curlia were enough to handle those trembling gravelers. At this moment, what Ash wanted most was to capture Tatsumi, the leader of this evil gang. Damn it. Kids, don't be so smug. Just wait, you won't be so lucky next time. Hearing Ash command Pikachu to attack, Tatsumi, still in midair, jolted awake. He hadn't yet recovered from the terrifying shock he'd experienced earlier. Leaving behind a harsh threat, Tatsumi hastily rode his Pidgeotto away. Damn it, that's not Pikachu at all. It's a thunder monster disguised as Pikachu. Damn it, Pidgeotto, come out. Don't let it escape. Seeing Tatsumi trying to run, Ash wouldn't stand for it. Pikachu, but just as he summoned Pidgeotto to give chase, Tatsumi, who was still striking a pose, finally collapsed to the ground. Holy crap, you finally left. If you hadn't, I would have been exposed. Seeing that Chen had been frightened away, Mu Chen didn't even have the strength to stand. Pikachu. Ash, don't chase after him. Xiaoxia was the first to notice Pikachu had fallen. Seeing the little rascal weakened again, Xiaoxia knew perfectly well that even the thunder attack would be too much for Pikachu to handle. Pika Pika, damn, there's no harm without comparison. Xiaoxia is so considerate. Held in Xiaoxia's arms, Mu Chen looked at the frustrated Ash with disdain. This idiot is far inferior to Xiaoxia. Whether it's intelligence, emotional intelligence, or those 2 mounds of flesh on his chest. Incomparable indeed. Thinking this, Mu Chen's short hands skillfully reached out and placed them where Ash wanted to reach. Pikachu. Chapter 196 Tatsumi's Ambush. So this is your headquarters. After a day's rest, and with Pikachu recovered, Ash and Misty escorted the terrified delinquents to a secluded ravine. Why didn't they return directly to town to report to Officer Jenny? First, the round trip would take too long. By the time Officer Jenny arrived, the place would be deserted. Therefore, Ash and Misty only informed Officer Jenny of what had happened via communicator. Second, naturally, it was because of Pikachu. After the previous battle, Pikachu's strength was evident to Ash. Seeing Pikachu's significant improvement, Ash's confidence soared. The delinquent gang had been essentially wiped out by that one thunderbolt, leaving only their leader, Tatsumi. How could Ash, overflowing with a sense of justice, miss such an opportunity to eradicate this menace? That's why, after a night's rest, Ash and Misty headed straight for the delinquent gang's headquarters. However, they were unaware that this so-called headquarters of the delinquent gang was actually a secret branch of Team Rocket. That's right, this is it. Spare us, these delinquents relied entirely on their numbers and their ability to self-destruct Pokémon to cause trouble. Now, their numbers were useless, and their self-destructing Pokémon had been destroyed by Pikachu. The delinquents were genuinely panicked. Alright. You can go now. Remember, don't do anything evil again. The ringleader was Chen Yi. These delinquents were merely accomplices. Besides, the only evil they had done was to lure Ash's Pokémon, just like they had done to him before. They hadn't actually killed anyone. That's why, after these delinquents led Ash to the location, Ash chose to let them go. Pikachu, Mu Chen felt absolutely nothing about Ash letting these delinquents go. These trash were already trembling at the sight of him, whether he let them go or not was irrelevant. At this moment, Mu Chen's focus was on this headquarters hidden deep in the mountains. Yesterday, he overreacted, resulting in him helplessly watching Chenji escape. Today, Mu Chen is determined to capture him no matter what. The system's mission requires capturing Chenji. If this guy gets away, Mu Chen will have nowhere to cry. Pikachu, slow down. Seeing Pikachu dart out of her arms and run ahead, Xiaoxia quickly followed. This is the headquarters of the delinquent gang. Who knows how many enemies are still there? Pikachu, what's there to be afraid of? Those brats have already been blasted to bits by me. Chenji is just a nobody, whether he's even here is another matter. Xiaoxia might worry about ambushes, but Mu Chen isn't worried at all. After wiping out his opponents twice with lightning strikes, Mu Chen's morale is soaring. If Mu Chen has any worries at this moment, it's only whether Chenji is still here. However, as the old saying goes, excessive joy leads to sorrow. Boom! Just as Mu Chen rushed into the headquarters, a violent explosion rang out. Pikachu, what the hell? What's going on? The sudden explosion startled Mu Chen. Turning his head, Mu Chen realized that the headquarters gate was now buried under rocks due to the explosion. Ash and Misty were both outside the base. Ha ha ha. Little thing, I didn't expect your master to actually dare to chase after you. HMPH. You can use thunder, huh? I'll see how you use thunder in this confined space. After successfully sealing the exit, Chen Ji's arrogant laughter reached Mu Chen's ears. It turned out that after his defeat yesterday, Chen Ji's first thought upon returning to the base was to pack up and leave immediately. But, while packing his belongings, Chen Ji suddenly realized something. It seemed that after using thunder, Pikachu just posed there and didn't launch any further attacks. It was this realization that made Chen Ji understand. Damn it, I was fooled yesterday. Pikachu could indeed use thunder, but that was all. Although Chen didn't know that Mu Chen's thunder skill had a time limit, he could tell from Pikachu's subsequent behavior that a Pikachu using thunder was practically useless. Knowing Pikachu's true strength, Chen changed his mind again. In terms of pure power, aside from the terrifying thunder, Chen had absolutely no fear of a mere Pikachu. Originally, Chen had planned to go out and find Ash and his friends, then launch a sneak attack. But unexpectedly, Ash and his friends had come to his doorstep this morning. Through the surveillance cameras planted around the headquarters, Chen had discovered Ash and his group's arrival early in the morning. Seeing them come to him willingly, Chen immediately changed tactics, setting up an ambush inside the headquarters. Now, with the external exits sealed, Pikachu's thunder skill was useless. Now, facing this lone Pikachu, Chen seemed to see his glorious future. What was a mere, not yet officially established branch? Just a bunch of delinquents. There's nothing else in this world, but there are plenty of delinquents, right? As long as we capture Pikachu and get the reward from Boss Giovanni, the mistake of destroying this branch is nothing. He might even become a high-ranking officer overnight. Pikachu, damn it, ambushing me? Seeing this, how could Mu Chen not understand what was happening? Clearly, Mu Chen wasn't satisfied with yesterday's defeat and was planning to get revenge. Little thing, your master isn't here. Let's see what you can do now. Surrender obediently. Go, my strongest warrior, Agron, defeat this little thing. With his tactics successful, Mu Chen was filled with unwavering confidence. Normally, a Pokémon without its trainer's command would have significantly reduced combat power relying solely on its instincts. Moreover, in this closed headquarters, Pikachu's most powerful thunder attack was unusable. Mu Chen felt he saw absolutely no possibility of failure. However, what Chen Ji didn't know was that the Pikachu in front of him never needed a trainer's commands. Pikachu, seeing Chen Ji summon the mountain-sized steel monster, Mu Chen wasn't intimidated at all. It let out a cry, and electricity crackled wildly across its cheeks. HMPH. Playing dumb. Agron, use earthquake. Let this little mouse run away in a sorry state. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197 Boskipla and the Big Mouth Sparrow. Whoosh, with a loud roar from Agron, the ground where Mu Chen stood began to shake violently. This was the ground-type move, Earthquake. Pikachu, holy crap. What the hell is this? The sudden shaking of the ground, and even the faint, extremely strong energy fluctuations constantly impacting Mu Chen, made him panic. As an electric-type Pokémon, Mu Chen knew he had absolutely no resistance to ground-type moves. With the shaking of the ground, Mu Chen's charging up could not continue. Helpless, Mu Chen could only keep running and dodging to avoid being hit by the energy that suddenly surged from the ground. Ha ha ha. Run as fast as you can. Let's see where you can run to. The headquarters of this delinquent gang was not very large. After Chen had sealed off the other entrances, the space where Mu Chen was now was only a couple hundred square meters. Facing this 2-meter-tall Agron, Mu Chen didn't have much space to hide. Seeing Pikachu so easily humiliated by Agron's ground slam, Chen Ji burst into maniacal laughter. Damn it! If I'd known this damned yellow rat was bluffing, why did I run away yesterday? The thought of himself, a mid-level executive of Team Rocket, being scared off by 2 brats and a single Pikachu filled Chen Ji with rage. Today, I'm going to get my revenge, Pikachu, damn it, this won't do. I'm going to fight back. The indoor space was limited, and no matter how much Mu Chen dodged, he couldn't escape the range of Agron's constant ground slam attacks. After several attempts, Mu Chen decisively decided to counterattack. Since I can't avoid it, I'll just fight it out. Who's afraid of who? Mu Chen was no longer in the same state as in this world. Through continuous battles, Mu Chen's confidence continued to grow. If even a single Agron could force him into such a sorry state, Mu Chen was furious. Zzzzz. With sparks crackling on Mu Chen's cheeks, a 4-finger-thick bolt of electricity shot towards the mindlessly stomping Agron. Although this giant could use ground-type moves, its own type was rock steel. It had little resistance to electric-type moves. Roar, the instantaneous thunderbolt was incredibly fast. Before Mu Chen could even react, Agron let out a painful roar. Its earthquake move was forced to stop. Interesting. Agron, stop playing with this little thing. Charge, use Iron Head. Although it had been hit by Thunderbolt, Agron's physique and level were incredibly strong. Taking a Thunderbolt wasn't a big problem for it. Whoosh, receiving Chenji's command, Agron lowered its massive head and charged at Pikachu. Its helmet-like head bristled with sharp horns, radiating a chilling light. This was the Steel-type move, Iron Head. Pika Pika, goodbye to you. As long as this thing doesn't use Earthquake, Mu Chen wasn't afraid of it at all. So what if you're big? So what if you're strong? Do you think I'd fight you head-on? Seeing Agron's imposing charge, Mu Chen decisively chose to dodge with high-speed movement. To hell with you, I'm a small fry, I'd never go toe-to-toe with you. Boom, with Mu Chen's dodge, Agron's powerful charge slammed into the surrounding rock wall. Whoa, despite its stubbornness, Agron was still stunned by the impact, nearly breaking off its sharp horns. You cunning little thing. Agron, stop chasing. Keep using Earthquake. And then, Sparrow, come out and unleash a furious attack on this little thing, Chenji. As expected of the mid-level executive in Team Rocket, possessed incredibly rich combat experience. With just this one attack, Chenji realized that Agron couldn't possibly attack this fast yellow-skinned mouse through melee combat. Therefore, Chenji immediately changed tactics. Pikachu can interrupt Agron's Earthquake with its instant Thunderbolt, right? Very well, then I'll summon Sparrow. I don't expect Sparrow to do much damage to Pikachu. As long as it keeps interfering and prevents it from interrupting Agron with Thunderbolt, that's enough. As for whether 2 against 1 is beneath its dignity? Just kidding, Chenji isn't exactly a saint, and this battle isn't some fair league duel. Besides, there's nobody here except Pikachu and himself. What does Chenji have to worry about? Once he gets Pikachu, all the riches and glory will be his for the taking. Whoa, at Chenji's command, a large bird with a sharp beak, over a meter long, appeared before him. This was none other than the Sparrow that had previously served as Chenji's mount. Roar, similarly, after receiving Chenji's command, Agron, having pulled its pair of sharp horns from the wall, once again entered a state of mindless self-indulgence. Watching Agron stomping its feet and shaking the ground, and seeing the Sparrow rapidly swooping down on him, Mu Chen began to curse inwardly. Pika Pika, damn it, this is going to kill me. I knew it, no unknown mission is easy. Just as Chenji had predicted. Interfered with by the Pidgeotto, Mu Chen was unable to retaliate against Agron. As the ground shook more intensely, Mu Chen's space to maneuver shrank further. Ha ha ha. Little thing, still want to struggle? Just surrender immediately. Seeing Pikachu cornered, Chenji's laughter became even more arrogant than before. At this moment, he saw the dawn of victory, he saw a bright future ahead. Pika, surrender? Surrender my ass. If Chenji were a delicate young lady, Mu Chen might have wavered. However, Chenji was a scoundrel. Surrendering to a scoundrel? That was definitely not Mu Chen's choice. Damn it, you want to limit my space to maneuver? Then let's see how you limit me this time. Cornered with no room to dodge, Mu Chen exploded. Seeing a Pidgeotto pounce, Mu Chen, who had dodged to the side, instantly sprang into action. In one swift step, Mu Chen leaped onto Pidgeotto's back. HMPH. You stupid bird, if you can be that old geezer's mount, then be my mount too. Chapter 198 Intelligence is a fatal flaw. Whoa, suddenly, Pikachu darted onto its back, and the Pidgeotto panicked. This was the target its master had ordered to attack, how could it become its mount? But Alice, with Pikachu on its back, the Pidgeotto's simple brain couldn't help it come up with any solutions. In its panic, The Pidgeotto could only futilely flap its wings, trying to shake Pikachu off. Pikachu, having gained a moment to catch its breath, Mu Chen naturally wouldn't waste it. Its two short paws firmly gripped the Pidgeotto's feathers, and the electricity on Mu Chen's cheeks surged again. The biggest threat to Mu Chen in this battle was that self-absorbed Aggron. That thing's ground-smashing move truly disgusted Mu Chen. Knowing that a quick Thunderbolt wouldn't defeat it, Mu Chen decisively entered charging mode again. Damn it! You stupid bird, used Drill Rush and knocked that little thing down. Seeing the finch flapping its wings overhead, Chenji was so angry he almost vomited blood. This idiot, are you helping me or Pikachu? Woof woof, receiving its trainer's prompting, the finch immediately turned and pecked fiercely at Pikachu's back. This peck was a full-force attack from the finch. Drill Rush is a high-damage flying-type move, and this was a furious strike from the finch, so its power was not to be underestimated. Of course, Mu Chen would not take the finch's attack lightly. Pika Pika, goodbye. Seeing the stupid bird pecking at him, Mu Chen flung his hands away, his body shifting several centimeters backward. And it was precisely this shift of several centimeters that caused the finch's attack to miss. Of course, it wasn't entirely a miss. PFFT, the sound of a sharp object piercing flesh rang out. Whoa! Immediately afterward, the painful and mournful cry of the sparrow echoed throughout the enclosed space. Pikachu, damn, this is too bloody, too violent. I'm impressed. Looking at the sparrow that was spitting blood from its self-inflicted wound, Mu Chen's only expression was I'm impressed, so ruthless even to itself, truly deserving of the title hooligan among birds. Stupid bird. Stop flying, land. Land now. Seeing that the sparrow hadn't attacked Pikachu but instead dealt itself a severe blow, Chenji almost fainted from anger. Damn it, how come I didn't realize before that this sparrow could be this stupid? Damn it, after I catch Pikachu this time, I'm definitely getting a new mount. This thing is too cheap. Pikachu, hearing Chenji's command to the sparrow, Mu Chen sneered inwardly. Land? Too late. If Chenji had ordered Mu Chen to land immediately after Mu Chen jumped onto the sparrow, Mu Chen might have been in some trouble. But now, my charging is complete. Zzzzz, the sound of electricity crackling rang out again. This time, the electric sparks jumping on Mu Chen's cheeks were significantly more intense than before. This was the 100,000 volts that had been charged. Not good. Aggron, use charge to dodge Pikachu's attack. Seeing this familiar scene, Chenji was immediately shocked. You see, yesterday, before Pikachu used Thunder, the electricity on its cheeks jumped at the same level. Although Pikachu couldn't use Thunder here, Aggron probably couldn't withstand the 100,000 volts. Whoa! In the midst of its self-indulgent excitement, suddenly hearing its master change its command, the metal-headed Aggron was a little confused. Finally, after a brief moment of thought, Aggron reacted. Oh, right. Master seemed to have told me to use charge, right? But who should I charge at? Master didn't say. Chenji's original intention was for Aggron to use charge to move around and dodge Pikachu's attack. Unfortunately, Chenji overestimated his Pokémon's intelligence. Zzzzz. Just as Aggron was still contemplating its fate and deciding who to target with its move, Mu Chen's enhanced Thunderbolt arrived. Whoa! This time, Aggron was finally freed from its dilemma. Although this thing was tough, it still twitched from the electric shock under the enhanced Thunderbolt attack. Damn it! Damn it! Seeing that Aggron had taken the Thunderbolt without any attempt to dodge, Chenji panicked. Without Aggron's powerful fighting force, he would have difficulty escaping this place, let alone capturing Pikachu. Without a word, Chenji ignored the convulsing Aggron and the constantly wailing sparrow, turning and sprinting towards a room behind him. Although Chenji had sealed off the place, as the master of this place, opening a few doors was a piece of cake. However, how could Mu Chen allow Chenji to run away? Pikachu, mission. You fucking stop right there. This Chenji represented Mu Chen's system mission this time, and besides, this guy had disgusted Mu Chen quite a bit before. If he saw him trying to run away, how could Mu Chen possibly allow it? With high-speed movement enhanced and a flash of lightning activated, Mu Chen shot towards the headlong running Chenji. Bang! A mere human, just an ordinary human, how could Chenji avoid Mu Chen's charge? With just a flash of lightning, Chenji was knocked to the ground by Mu Chen. Sizzle, you fucking lie there quietly. The mission required handing this guy over to Officer Jenny, so Mu Chen certainly wouldn't use Thunderbolt on him. However, he wouldn't hesitate to use an electromagnetic wave. Already knocked over by a flash of lightning while fleeing, and now hit by an electromagnetic wave, Chen Ji immediately let out a painful scream. Rumble. Just as Chen Ji's scream rang out, a huge rumbling sound suddenly came from the enclosed space. Pikachu, holy crap, what's going on? Does this guy have accomplices? Hearing the rumbling sound, Mu Chen immediately tense up. Pikachu. Are you okay? Hey, Misty, hurry up and get in. This gap isn't big enough for the two of us. Lilu, I know. The rumbling sound gradually dissipated. What followed was Misty's concerned greeting, Ash's idiotic shouts, and Mu Chen's two girlish cries. Pikachu, Pikachu. Hearing that it was one of their own, Mu Chen's heart immediately relaxed. Not bad, at least you guys have a conscience. Chapter 199 Sakuki takes action. Thank you so much, excellent trainers. Officer Jenny's voice was filled with sincerity as she looked at the destroyed headquarters of the delinquent gang in Tatsumi, who was bound hand and foot. Originally, Officer Jenny had only hoped that Ash and Misty, the two traveling trainers, could help her find the location of the headquarters. But who would have thought they would go all the way and wipe out the entire gang? This greatly reduced the trouble for Officer Jenny, so how could she not be grateful? Ha ha ha. Officer Jenny, you're too kind. It's what we should do. However, I have another favor to ask you. Since the bridge is closed, what's the shortest route to Sunny Town? Because of the previous battle, the bridge, which had just been repaired but not yet officially opened, had entered another repair phase. With the bridge impassable, Ash and Misty would have to take a detour to reach Sunny Town. As for riding Melodic across the ocean, that's a joke, a full 60 kilometers. Leaving aside whether Melodic's stamina could sustain it, the dangers of the ocean alone demanded careful consideration from Ash and Misty. Pikachu had indeed defeated a Gyarados group before. But who knew if that was the only group in the ocean? If they encountered a Gyarados of that size again on the vast sea, even Pikachu might not be able to handle it. Remember, in the last battle, Ash and Misty were in a safe position. If they were also in the danger zone, even the most powerful Pikachu probably wouldn't be able to protect them. Therefore, the most important thing for Ash and Misty now was how to quickly reach Sunny Town. So that's what it is. Given your strength, crossing the mountains shouldn't be a problem, right? If you cross this mountain range, you'll reach Rock Town directly. If you want to go to Sunny Town, then you should. She had thought Ash would make some unreasonable request, but he was just asking for directions. This was naturally no problem for Officer Jenny. Before she could finish answering, Ash excitedly interrupted, haha, great. Thank you, Officer Jenny. Of course, who would go to Sunny Town when they could go directly to Rock Town? Ash and his friend's goal was to reach Twin Islands, then take a boat from there to Cinnabar Island, and finally challenge the gym there. Rock Town was much closer to the dock leading to Twin Islands than Sunny Town. With such a shortcut, why bother going all the way to Sunny Town? The map probably didn't show this mountain crossing route because it was too dangerous for the average trainer. Just as Ash and Misty set off again, heading deeper into the mountains, on a deserted island, Team Rocket's leader, Giovanni, received a report from his secretary, Makoto. Boss Giovanni, something's happened to Tatsumi's branch. It's been confirmed that Tatsumi's branch, which wasn't even officially established yet, has been completely wiped out, and Tatsumi himself has been captured by Officer Jenny. It probably won't be long before the League discovers it was one of our branches. Although Tatsumi's branch wasn't officially established, Tatsumi himself was a mid-level executive in Team Rocket. Now that he's in the League's hands, it's only a matter of time before he's interrogated and reveals everything. Looking at the serious-faced bespectacled girl in front of him, Giovanni fell into deep thought. Tatsumi's branch was wiped out? What a coincidence. At this very moment? Could it be that the League has already discovered his plan? You see, Team Rocket has been relatively quiet lately, focusing all their attention on a research project that could change the world's Jiju, a concept encompassing the overall situation and the overall structure of the universe. And yet, just as Team Rocket disappeared, Tatsumi's unestablished branch was wiped out? Is this a coincidence? Or is it intentional on the part of the League? Because this plan was of paramount importance, the destruction of the Tatsumi branch couldn't be taken lightly by Giovanni. What exactly happened? Did the League intervene? Who went? After racking his brains without success, Giovanni could only ask Makoto. Boss Giovanni, It was that brat with Pikachu. The destruction of the Tatsumi branch this time was probably an accident. Those delinquents under Tatsumi's command often lure passing trainers' Pokémon, and they just happened to run into that brat. As Giovanni's close secretary, Makoto was well aware of Giovanni's concerns. Makoto also expressed utter helplessness regarding this matter. Who could have imagined that things would be so coincidental? A branch that hadn't even been officially established was wiped out. Although this wasn't a big deal for the large and powerful Team Rocket, at this crucial juncture, it inevitably caused instability within Team Rocket. Oh? That brat again? Where are Jesse and the others, and Yamato and the others? Hearing that it wasn't the League involved, Giovanni's heart immediately relaxed. As long as the League didn't discover his plan, a branch and a Tatsumi were completely insignificant. Boss Giovanni. Musashi and the others are currently on Route 306, about 20 miles away from that brat. If we speed up the pursuit, we should be able to catch up with him within 2 days. Yamato and the others are currently resting in a small town not far from Musashi and the others. As a secretary, Makoto was very competent. At least, no matter what question Giovanni asked, Makoto could give him a prepared answer immediately. Is that so? Have Delibird give these 2 Pokémon to Yamato and the others. Then, tell them that no matter what, they must catch that brat's Pikachu for me. Pikachu had already piqued Giovanni's interest, and now that it could destroy Tatsumi's branch, it was enough to show how terrifying this Pikachu's potential was. How long had it been? Almost every time Giovanni heard a report about Pikachu, he noticed that the little thing's strength had greatly improved. At this moment, Giovanni's desire to obtain Pikachu was even stronger. Yes, sir. Upon hearing Giovanni's order, Makoto unhesitatingly picked up the 2 Pokeballs offered to her and turned to leave. However, neither Makoto nor Giovanni knew that the Delibird, responsible for delivering supplies to its subordinates, wasn't as intelligent as she had imagined. If she had simply ordered it to deliver the items to someone, there might not have been a problem. But when Makoto mentioned Yamato to the Delibird, she also mentioned Jesse. Chapter 200, Relentless Attacks? Ash, is Pikachu sick? Why is it so down all day? Having carried Pikachu all day, Misty knew the little guy's condition best. Normally, that little rascal Pikachu would never refrain from taking advantage of her. But today, after traveling all day with Ash, Pikachu hadn't attacked her once, just lying listlessly in her arms. Misty simply couldn't understand this. Could Pikachu really be sick? Let's rest here for a bit. I think Pikachu is probably just too tired. Being sick was out of the question. Ash thought Pikachu's poor condition was due to exhaustion from the recent battles. Pika, watching the 2 talking, Mu Chen remained silent. I'm not tired at all, I have plenty of energy. Mu Chen wasn't physically tired at this moment, but he was mentally exhausted. After painstakingly completing an unknown mission, all he got in the end was a mere 10 base stat points from the gacha. At this moment, Mu Chen was utterly devastated. Damn it, last time you generously gave me a thunder, fake, and now you're going to take it back. Mu Chen was certain this was intentional on the system's part. But no matter how much he called out, the system ignored him. Looking at the naked 10 base stat points, it was no wonder Mu Chen couldn't muster any energy. This was an unknown mission. Damn it. No way. I'm so frustrated, I need to vent. If he didn't release the pent-up resentment, Mu Chen would probably go crazy. Of course, his way of venting wasn't like Curlia, following Ash's commands to bully weaker opponents. He had his own way of venting. Thinking about it, my Dynamax cooldown should be ready again tonight, right? Melodic, you're going to have a tough time tonight. Of course, all of this was just Mu Chen's thought, he wouldn't explain it to anyone. At the same time, dozens of miles away from Ash and his group, Yamato and Kasaburo were also having a conversation. Yamato, Master Shin-chan said the boss ordered us to take down that brat, but how do we deal with that Pikachu? After the last battle, Kasaburo and Yamato had deeply understood Pikachu's formidable fighting power. Even Kasaburo's cloister had been turned into a grilled seafood feast by Pikachu. Now, with their strength greatly reduced, Kasaburo wasn't really confident facing Pikachu again. The boss's orders have been given, we have to find a way to complete them no matter what. Unlike Kasaburo, Yamato's eyes blazed with anger at the mention of Pikachu. That wretched yellow rat dared to steal my personal clothing? How could Yamato not retaliate for such a humiliation? Yamato, don't be impulsive. We should be more prepared. Seeing that Yamato was planning to attack Ash and his friends directly, Kasaburo quickly stopped him. Yamato's loss was just a shield, but Kasaburo lost a cloister. If they rushed in recklessly, Yamato might just lose another shield, but what about Kasaburo? Kasaburo said he didn't have such a high-end item as a shield. Damn it. Let's make some preparations then. According to the information provided by Master Shin-chan, those two brats will probably be out of the mountains for at least another week. Once we're ready, we'll ambush them. Although he was furious, Yamato knew that Pikachu wouldn't be easy to deal with. For the sake of revenge, Yamato temporarily suppressed his anger. However, unlike Yamato's anger, on Route 306, a dozen kilometers away, Jesse and Kojiro were celebrating. Ha ha ha. I knew it. I knew the boss wouldn't abandon us. That's right. Jesse, I'll take this Charizard, and you can have that Rhyperior. The two Pokeballs that Giovanni handed to Makoto contained the powerful Charizard and Rhyperior. Giovanni's plan was that after handing these two powerful Pokemon to Yamato and Kojiro, their success rate in defeating Ash and catching Pikachu would be very high. However, an unexpected turn of events occurred. Now, these two Pokemon were in Jesse and Kojiro's hands. No. Don't you think Charizard's fiery red color matches my hair perfectly? Rhyperior is yours, this Charizard is mine. Compared to the bulky Rhyperior, the cool Charizard was clearly more popular with Jesse and Kojiro. You two stop arguing. Since the boss trusts us so much, we absolutely can't let him down. If you ask me, we should hurry up and catch those two wretched brats, and get that yellow-skinned rat. Meow. Seeing Musashi and Kojiro still fighting, Meow felt hurt. Why did the boss only think of those two unreliable guys and not me? Meowth. That's right. Kojiro, Meowth, let's go. Snatching the Charizard's Pokeball, Musashi, as the leader, gave the order to go. That wretched yellow-skinned rat, I'll get my revenge for the humiliation I suffered at your hands. Pikachu, Mu Chen, of course, was unaware of the actions of the Musashi trio on the Yamato duo. It was already dark, and he was preparing for a fierce battle with Melodic. But just as he was about to charge, the system's electronic voice suddenly sounded. Beep beep, random mission activated. Young man, are you ready to withstand a barrage of attacks? Mission objective, repel the continuous attacks of enemies. Mission reward, young man, you've been waiting for this for a long time, haven't you? That's right, Kirlia is about to evolve. Failure penalty, useless trash, you can't even seize the opportunity for Kirlia to evolve? Then you can just watch forever. What the hell? What kind of mission is this? What kind of garbage is this? This mission doesn't even tell me who the enemy is? Am I supposed to guess? And a barrage of attacks? What kind of wild Pokemon is it? Although Mu Chen had many doubts about this mission, he thought the reward was still very appealing. That arrogant little Kirlia is finally going to evolve into a beautiful mature woman. Just thinking about what Kirlia will look like after evolving, Mu Chen decisively shook off his doubts about the mission. To hell with it, I'm excited now. Pikachu, Melodic, prepare to withstand a storm of attacks. Putting aside his thoughts, Mu Chen, now excited and with bloodshot eyes, charged towards Melodic, who had been waiting impatiently. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all, see you in the next video.